Here is the recap of the 5 seasons of The Supernatural. The young Winchester family lives a seemingly ordinary life. One night, Mary comes to her son's nursery and sees a stranger next to his bed. John comes running in at the scream and finds his wife pinned to the ceiling, and a moment later, flames erupt. The man immediately gives Sam to his eldest son, Dean, to take the baby outside, and he himself tries to help his wife. However, nothing comes out, and Mary dies in the fire. 22 years have passed. Sam grew up, went to college, made friends and lives with his girlfriend Jessica. He does not tell his family about his academic success, because with his father and brother they are not close. Then one night Dean sneaks into the house. He says that their father is missing, and now he needs help in finding him. At first Sam refuses, but having learned that he did not return from the hunt, decides to listen to his brother. Dean tells of a series of mysterious disappearances of men on the highway. John takes up the case, but it's been 3 weeks and he still hasn't returned. Sam agrees to help, but warns that after the weekend, he will return to his usual life. The brothers find themselves in a small town where they learn about a local legend, the so-called Woman in White. Pretending to be federal agents, the main characters investigate the case and find out the details. It turns out that her husband cheated on Constance and, having learned about it, she drowned her children, and when she realized what she had done, she killed herself. Since then, her ghost has been wandering the highway, luring unfaithful men and killing them. Soon, Sam meets Constance. She keeps saying she can't get home, but he drives a car into the ruins, thus bringing her to the right place. Here, she reunites with the spirits of her children, and a moment later disappears with them. The case is solved, but the brothers have not found their father. Dean offers to continue the search, but Sam still wants to return to normal life, rather than exterminate evil. Returning from the hunt, the guy finds Jessica dead. Everything happened exactly the same as 22 years ago. Someone killed her and chained her to the ceiling. Realizing that now there is no other way out, the guy joins his brother and goes in search of John. Sam is having nightmares with Jessica. The only thing he wants now is to get the answers that only his father can give, but he has yet to be found. The brothers follow a tip and end up in a small town. Sam doesn't understand why his father left the coordinates of this particular place, since there is nothing but woods in the area. It turns out that a group of tourists disappeared here. Haley, the sister of one of them, decides to find Tommy on her own, since the authorities can't help. Sam and Dean pretend to be rangers and go on a search together with a woman, believing that his father may be somewhere here. In the woods, Sam begins to realize whose trail they are on. Judging by the signs, they are dealing with a Wendigo, a creature that has lost its human form. Sam tries to convince the search party to return to town, but Haley is determined and won't back down. Sam doesn't understand why they should waste time tracking down the monster when they should be looking for their father, who, as they've already realized, isn't here. Dean tries to calm his brother down, assuring him that they will definitely find him, and while they are looking for him, they need to kill as many evil things as possible. Soon the Wendigo attacks. He kills the guide the woman hired to search and drags Haley and Dean to its lair. Sam and the woman's younger brother find a cave where the creature hides its victims. Here, the main characters also find the missing Tommy. When all the survivors are freed, the Winchesters are separated. Sam tries to get the guys away while Dean creates a distraction and then sets the Wendigo on fire. That's how they manage to save the humans from yet another supernatural monster. A couple of days later, Dean finds an article in the news about a woman drowning and suggests Sam check out the town. Maybe it's a case in their line of work. The younger brother doesn't really understand why they're wasting time on such cases, since it's getting harder and harder to find his father every day. However, they don't have any leads yet, so the brothers decide to take up the case. It turns out that recently there have been 2 similar cases. However, the bodies of the drowned have not been found. Under the guise of employees from Nature Protection, Winchesters come to the sheriff, hoping to find out some details, but the man does not see anything suspicious in what happened. At that moment, daughter Andre comes to him with her son Lucas. After the death of his father, The boy stopped talking and became very withdrawn, and soon the main characters found out why. It turns out that his father drowned right in front of his eyes. Dean tries to talk to Lucas, telling him about his family, and eventually the plan works. The boy gives him a drawing. A short time later, the brother of the woman in the news report dies. As they investigate, the Winchesters realize that both deaths have something to do with Bill, the victim's father. And then they find the very house that Lucas painted. That's how they learn from an elderly woman that her son Peter is missing. The brothers believe that Bill has something to do with it. Perhaps it was he who killed Peter 35 years ago. The main characters decide to talk to him, but do not have time. The man gets into a boat and swims to the middle of the lake, and then, like the others, disappears without a trace. Meanwhile, the sheriff makes inquiries and learns that Sam and Dean have nothing to do with conservation, so he demands that they pack up and leave town as soon as possible, before he detains them. This decision seems logical to Sam, because if Bill really did kill Peter, then that should be the end of the series of deaths. Except Dean thinks otherwise. He arrives at Andre's house and turns out to be right, as suddenly Lucas calls for help. The main characters manage to save his mother, who almost drowned in the bathtub. While she talks about the voice she heard underwater, Lucas runs into the yard and points to a patch of ground. Digging it up, the Winchesters find Peter's bicycle. The sheriff arrives and doesn't understand how they knew about it. The man tells them exactly what happened 35 years ago. It turns out that because of him and Bill, Peter actually drowned. They accidentally drowned him in the lake and then covered their tracks. At this time, Lucas walks into the water, and moments later, he disappears. The Winchesters rush into the water to rescue the boy, but he is nowhere to be found. Now knowing the truth about the vengeful spirit, the sheriff goes into the lake and offers him a trade, only if his grandson survives. Peter agrees and drags him to the bottom, bringing the boy back. Andre thanks brothers for saving her son. But the Winchesters themselves have mixed feelings. On the one hand, they saved a mother and her child, and on the other hand, they were unable to help the sheriff. Sam keeps having nightmares, so he hardly sleeps at all. Dean is worried about his brother, but doesn't know how to help him. Meanwhile, he gets a call from his father's buddy, whom they helped with the exorcism of a poltergeist a couple of years ago. The man reports a strange occurrence that recently happened on an airplane. After 40 minutes into the flight, a passenger simply stood up and opened the emergency exit, triggering an airplane crash. Many died, but some still managed to escape. Having decoded the interference on the record of the pilot's conversations, the brothers hear the phrase, "No one survived," but it's not clear what it means, because 7 people managed to escape. The guys decide to talk to one of these lucky ones, so they learn that the passenger who opened the hatch was absolutely ordinary and was no different from the others, except for the inhuman strength. The version about a ghost guys cancel, and there remains demonic possession. Meanwhile, the pilot, Chuck, who was on that plane, is trying to overcome his fear of flying. Before the next flight, black smoke appears. In the end, after 40 minutes, Chuck willfully loses control and crashes with his partner. So the main characters realize that the demon intends to kill all the survivors of that flight, so they find the flight attendant. Unable to determine who the demon is in now, the Winchesters have to fly with her. They eventually find the possessed person and exorcise the demon, thus saving dozens of lives. Jerry, a buddy of their father's, thanks the guys for a great job. And then it turns out that he got Dean's number thanks to their father John's voicemail. In the news report, the main characters find another case. According to the official version, the man died of a stroke, except that he has no eyes and died right in front of the mirror. Soon there is a similar case with a young woman. It turns out that she jokingly said in front of the mirror, "Bloody Mary." Sam and Dean learn a legend about a woman whose body was found near the mirror. It is believed that her spirit is trapped and can move through mirrors in search of whoever caused someone's death. The brothers decide to find the mirror, summon her, and then break it. Sam is sure that she will come to his call, but he doesn't tell Dean why he thinks so. And so the main characters find the mirror, but things get out of hand. Mary almost kills Sam, but Dean saves his brother. They end up forcing her to look at herself in the mirror. so she self-destructs due to her own guilt over the dozens of deaths. When it's over, Sam tells Dean about his dreams. It turns out that shortly before the death of his girlfriend Jessica, he had nightmares of her dying, but ignored them. So now he feels guilty for her death. The search for their father is not progressing, and in the meantime, a new case comes up. Sam gets a letter from his friend Becky telling him about Zach. The guy is accused of the brutal murder of his girlfriend. Only for this, he had to be in two places at the same time. The brothers decide to take the case. Sam lies about Dean being a cop so Becky won't ask too many questions and gives them access to the information the police have. The woman takes the guys to the house where everything happened. Except that here they find neither traces of possession in the form of sulfur, nor evidence that it was a ghost. Meanwhile, a similar incident occurs nearby. A man ties his lover to a chair and kills her. The Winchesters find bloody footprints in the street and decide to check the sewers, where they discover human skin. This is how they realize that they are dealing with a shapeshifter who is attacking the main characters. The brothers have to split up, but they still miss him. When they meet, Sam begins to guess that Dean is not his brother at all, and turns out to be right. Only now the Winchesters are tied up in the basement while a shapeshifter with Dean's appearance goes to Becky and nearly kills her. That's when the police show up, but he manages to sneak away. Now everyone is convinced that Dean is behind the double murder and the attempt to commit a third one. When the main characters do manage to get on the trail of the shapeshifter, the real Dean kills his double with a silver bullet. Sam says goodbye to Becky and continues on the road with his brother in search of their father. The Winchesters take on another case. Under the guise of students, they come to the dormitory and ask about the death of the guy from the newspaper. That's how they find out about Lori, the Reverend's daughter who survived the attack. From her words, they were attacked by an unseen assassin who killed and hung the guy upside down. The Winchesters find the legend of Mr. Hook, who was executed for brutal murders centuries ago. While the main characters are trying to understand on what principle he chooses his victims, another murder occurs. This time, Lori's friend dies. At the same time, a message is written on the wall and a cross is drawn. The Winchesters realize that Hook has something to do with the church and believe that he feeds on the repressed emotions of the Reverend, so he kills everyone who could corrupt his daughter. At first, the version seems to work, but when Hook attacks the Reverend himself, the guys realize they miscalculated somewhere. The ghost has appeared even though Dean found and burned his skeleton. Now they have to find out where his hook went after the execution, because in fact it is something similar to the remains. From archival records, it turns out that it was donated to the church and then melted down. While Sam and Dean are looking for all the silver objects, Lori comes to the church. She has guessed that all these tragedies have something to do with her, so she is remorseful and doesn't know what to do to make it stop. At that moment, Sam notices a silver pendant in the form of a cross and throws it into the fire, and a moment later, Hook disappears. It turns out that the cross was the reason he was here, feeding off Lori's emotions. Dean sees that Sam feels sympathy for the woman, and hoping that his brother is about to recover from Jessica's death, offers to stay in town for a while, but Sam refuses. The brothers find another strange case. A gas man at a construction site fell into a hole and died. Talking to his workmate does not bring much clarity, so the Winchesters decide to pretend to be buyers and come to the developers. Here they meet Larry, his son Matt, and the realtor, who soon tragically dies in the shower. Having examined the scene, the main characters believe that the cause of everything was insects, and immediately remember Matt, who at the barbecue tried to scare Linda with a spider. They find the guy, except that he had nothing to do with it. On the contrary, he helps them understand what the matter is, telling them about the strange activity of insects, which seem to aspire to one place. Here in a meadow, Dean finds human remains. It turns out that in Oasis Plains is a whole burial ground of Native Americans. According to local legend, several hundred years ago, the newcomers wanted to free the land and relocate the Native Americans, but they were not going to leave. Then for several days they killed and raped people. And on the 6th day, the chief prayed to the gods and cursed the land, saying, "Let all white people who will ever come to this land know the horror and pain that his tribe had to go through." Realizing that there's not much time left, Dean and Sam try to warn Matt, but his father doesn't listen to him. The Winchesters arrive at their house and still convince them to barricade themselves, because a whole swarm of insects is flying at them. The family manages to wait out the wave of attack, and at dawn, the insects disappear. Larry promises to shut down the construction site and leave the cursed land. Matt and Larry remind Sam of his relationship with his father. Now he wants to find him even more, and apologize for the words he said the last time they met. Sam has a strange dream, in which a woman has taken up residence in their old house and is knocking on the window, begging for help. Fearing that this dream is a prophetic one, like the one with Jessica, which he ignored, Sam convinces Dean to go back to Lawrence and check everything out. And then the door is opened by the woman from the nightmare. It turns out that Jenny has recently arrived here with the kids to start over. She tells of creaks and flickering lights. The main characters realize that there's something amiss and decide to stick around to figure out what's going on. While Sam searches for answers, Dean calls his father and once again gets a voicemail. He is confused and doesn't know if what is happening is related to his mother's death or just a coincidence, but he asks for help. From an old friend of their father, the main characters learn that after Mary's death, John went to a fortune teller named Missouri. That's where they go, but only to help in the search for his father she cannot, but to save the new tenants of the house agrees. In the end, the trio manages to exorcise the evil spirit, and it seems everything is over. But Sam does not leave disturbing thoughts. After a while, it turns out that he was right, because he sees Jenny in the window, as in his dream. He immediately rushes to help, and the poltergeist attacks him. If it weren't for the flame-blazing silhouette, Sam would be dead. Dean shows up and intends to kill the spirit, but it turns out to be Mary's ghost. She finds a poltergeist and the ghosts destroy each other. Soon, Missouri is back home. Except it turns out John has been in Lawrence the whole time. When logically asked why he's avoiding his sons, John replies that it's not time yet, because he hasn't had time to learn the truth. The search for their father is unsuccessful, and Sam suggests turning to the FBI, but Dean is against it. Soon the brothers receive an anonymous message with coordinates and realize that it is John who gives them a tip on another case. So the main characters find themselves in a mental institution where several decades ago the patients staged a riot. Many people died, and the bodies of some of them were never found. At night, the Winchesters decide to search the abandoned building and stumble upon a couple of thrill seekers. They see ghosts, but that's not what's strange. The spirits don't attack, but as if trying to say something. So the brothers learn about the office of Dr. Ellicott, who conducted experiments on patients. Here they find his remains and burn them, thus freeing the hospital from the evil spirit. The next morning, a phone call from John rings. The main characters are glad that the father is alive. He expresses his condolences to Sam about Jessica and tells the truth about his mother's death. It turns out she was killed by a demon, but he can't tell more than that, because demons are everywhere, and most likely this call is bugged too. Sam doesn't understand why his father won't let them join in and help find the killer. And Dean agrees to blindly follow his father's orders and take on a new mission. On the road, the brothers fight. Sam wants to find his father and get answers, and Dean does not intend to disobey John's will, so here their paths are separated. Soon the older brother finds the reason for the disappearance of couples in the neighborhood. It turns out that it's all about the divinity, to which the locals make sacrifices for peace and harvest. Dean manages to disrupt another hunt, which makes him the next victim. Together with a local woman, he is tied up in a garden by the townspeople and waits for the divinity to take the offering. Meanwhile, Sam meets Meg and pours his heart out to her about his complicated relationship with his brother. He plans to go with her, but at the last moment, when Dean doesn't answer the phone, he decides to return. If it weren't for his help, Dean would surely be dead. So the Winchesters are reunited again and set off on their onward journey. Meanwhile, Meg gets into a car with a stranger and is about to call someone, except she doesn't need a phone for that. She needs blood, because she is a demon. During another hunt, Dean is electrocuted. Sam takes him to the hospital and learns that his brother has not long to live because his heart is damaged, and there is no chance to save him. Not knowing what to do, the main character leaves his father a message, but John never gets in touch. Sam finds Roy, a healer who can save even a terminally ill person. Dean does not really believe in such magic, but still comes to his performance. To the surprise of all those gathered, it is Dean who is chosen by Roy. He touches Dean and heals him, and after a while it turns out that some athlete died of a heart attack. This seems strange to the brothers, and they begin to investigate. It turns out that Roy doesn't have any gift. He somehow manages to control death itself, which exchanges lives. At first, the Winchesters think that Roy is doing all this, but soon it becomes obvious that it's not him, but his wife. Sam finds the altar and destroys it, thus taking away the woman's control. Eventually, death comes after her and kills her. Dean doubts the rightness of their action, because if Roy had not chosen him, someone else could have survived. And yet Sam reminds his brother of his own words that no man can replace God and decide who lives and who dies. A few days later, Dean is contacted by his ex-girlfriend Cassie and asks for help. The thing is that her father died under rather strange circumstances, and she is sure that it's all in their profile. It turns out that this is not the first death in the town. Everything looks as if someone is killing dark-skinned people on the highway, and there's nothing supernatural about it, but local legend makes adjustments. It turns out that years ago a certain Cyrus went missing. He was the one with the pickup truck that many of the victims saw before they died. No one knows where he disappeared to, or if he's alive, and meanwhile people keep dying. When Cassie sees the ghost car herself, her mother decides to tell the truth. She had dated Cyrus in the past, and then decided to leave him and be with Martin. The man got angry and followed them everywhere. When he found out they were planning a wedding in a church, he set fire to it. He didn't know that the newlyweds changed their plans at the last moment, and it turned out that he killed the children's choir. He soon found Martin. A fight ensued, resulting in Cyrus's death. Cassie's father's friends helped cover their tracks and drowned Cyrus's body along with the truck in the local swamp. The Winchesters retrieve the remains and try to burn them, but it doesn't work. Cyrus begins to stalk Dean. Sam gives his brother the coordinates, hoping it will help get rid of the vengeful spirit. The plan works, and having reached a certain place, the ghost disappears. It turns out that this is where the church he set on fire stood. It became a sacred place that destroyed the evil forces. Now that Cassie's family is no longer threatened, the brothers set off on their journey. Although Dean has made peace with her, he realizes that because of the specifics of their work, starting a family is a big risk he can't take. Sam has a dream in which a man is choking on smoke in a car. He notices everything, including license plates and other details. Believing the dream to be prophetic, Sam picks up his brother and they hit the road, but they are late and the man dies. Sam is convinced that everything that is happening means something, so he tries his best to figure out what it is. Meanwhile, a relative of the first victim dies. From neighbors, the brothers learn about Martin, the son of the victim, who was abused by both his father and uncle. Sam has another vision involving Martin, in which the guy kills his stepmother Alice. It turns out that it was he who killed his father and uncle to avenge all the suffering he had to endure. But that's not the weirdest part. Turns out he has the same history as Sam. His mother died in a fire in his nursery when he was 6 months old, and a few months ago he developed supernatural abilities. Sam tries to talk him out of another murder, but it doesn't work, and the guy shoots himself in the head. Back at the motel, Sam tells Dean how he managed to get out of the closet in which he was locked. It turns out that in addition to the gift of foresight, he has the ability to telekinesis. All this together frightens Sam, because he fears that he may become like Martin. Dean tries not to show his worries and assures that together they will be able to cope with everything. The Winchesters find out about a series of mysterious disappearances and decide to investigate. However, they do not have time to learn the details of the incident, because Sam disappears right from the parking lot. Dean turns for help to the local sheriff, whose brother has also disappeared without a trace. Kathleen runs Dean through and learns that his badge is fake, and he himself is wanted for murder and faking his own death. She hesitates between turning him into the authorities and, with his help, finding the kidnappers after all. So the main characters find themselves in a faraway farm, where a strange family lives. If it were not for Dean, the woman would most likely have died. But there's nothing supernatural here. They're just cannibals. When the killers are dealt with, Kathleen finds her brother's car next to the house and realizes that he really died. Despite everything, the sheriff lets the Winchesters go, thanking them for their help. The brothers take on a new case. A woman dies under mysterious circumstances in her home, and an ancient symbol is drawn on the floor from drops of blood. So the Winchesters find out what they're dealing with. It turns out that a demon of darkness is behind the murder, and someone has summoned it. Meanwhile, Sam meets Meg in the bar, and it seems strange to him, because she couldn't be here by accident. The guy decides to follow her to the warehouse, where she has set up an altar and is waiting for someone to come. The brothers try to find something all the victims have in common, and realize they all come from Lawrence, the town where their mother died. Thinking they've encountered the demon John has been hunting all his life, Dean calls his father and asks him to come over. Except it all turns out to be a trap that Meg planned in advance. She wants to get to John, which is why she tricked the Winchesters. Sam destroys the altar, and the demons of darkness attack Meg, throwing her out the window. The brothers return to the motel, where John is waiting for them. The family is finally reunited, but not for long, because Meg shows up and sends the demons of darkness at them. The three miraculously escape. Dean advises his father to go separately, because Meg was right, and they are his weak point. So he has a much better chance of survival alone. After a confrontation with demons, the brothers are alone again. There is no trace of their father and no new leads. So, not to sit idly by, they take on another strange case. In Texas, the teens find a woman hanged in an old house, and then the body disappears. The house has long been considered cursed, and all the locals know the tale of Mordecai, who supposedly hanged his daughters and then took his own life. Sam and Dean go to the location and encounter not only a suspicious spirit, but also two pseudo-hunters. They run a website and describe the legend on it in such a way that it has taken on a life of its own, and quite literally. The spirit's behavior changes every time a new version of the story is released. Sam and Dean quickly realize they're not dealing with an ordinary ghost, but something new, a myth brought to life by a collective belief. Mordecai is becoming more and more dangerous. He is no longer afraid of salt and hunts outside the rules that ordinary spirits follow. Realizing that the legend is being formed literally on the fly, the brothers decide to cheat the system. They plant a fake version of the story on the same site. Supposedly, Mordecai was destroyed in a fire. Sam and Dean then stage a fire, hoping that the new legend will replace the old one and the creature will self-destruct. The Winchesters arrive in the town of Fitchburg, where several children have suddenly fallen into a coma. The cases occur in different families, but they have one thing in common. Before the illness, the children slept alone in a room with the windows ajar. Inspecting the home of one of the victims, Sam and Dean find a strange symbol on the windowsill. Dean recognizes it. They had encountered a case like this before when they were kids. Back then, their father was hunting the same creature, but missed it because of Dean's misstep. That day, Sam almost died, and since then, Dean feels guilt, because if he had not disobeyed his father then, dozens of children would not have been hurt. The brothers discover that behind the attacks is an ancient Striga witch who feeds on the children's life energy. She can take on human form and only becomes vulnerable at the moment of feeding. Sam and Dean find a new potential child victim, whose younger brother has already been affected. The brothers tell the boy the truth and convince him to help. The Striga arrives at night and everything goes according to plan. Dean, at the right moment, manages to shoot, and the creature dies, after which all the children return to normal. After a tough witch hunt and a brief respite, the brothers find a case again. This time it's strange deaths in New York City. A young couple is found dead in a house, and the doors are locked from the inside. The Winchesters take up the investigation and find out that shortly before the death, the couple purchased an antique painting at an auction. It is a family portrait from the early 20th century, behind which there is a chain of deaths. The brothers visit the auction house and get acquainted with Sarah, the daughter of the owner. Sam becomes close to her, despite being depressed after Jessica's death. Thanks to the woman, the Winchesters gain access to documents and discover that the portrait belonged to the merchant family. According to historical accounts, the father killed his wife and his children. An attempt to destroy the painting fails as it is rebuilt. Then Sam and Dean burn the remains of the alleged murderer, Isaiah, but this also has no effect. It turns out that the source of evil is not him at all, but his adopted daughter, who actually killed the family. Her spirit is tied to the doll in the painting. The brothers find the toy in the family crypt and burn it, thus ending the massacre of the owners of the painting. Sam says goodbye to Sarah and leaves. He realizes that he is not yet ready for the normal life he keeps telling his brother about. The Winchesters learn of the mysterious death of Hunter Elkins, whose name appears in their father's journal. When they arrive, they discover that Elkins was killed by vampires and that his house is furnished with protective symbols, including a circle of salt. Inside, they find an empty gun box and a note with the initials JW, indicating John Winchester. John himself soon appears, explaining that Elkins had kept an ancient revolver in his possession, a Colt made in 1835. According to legend, this revolver can kill anything, including the very demon responsible for Mary and Jessica's deaths. Now that the vampires have the gun, it must be recovered at any cost. John develops a plan. Use the dead man's blood, which acts like poison on the vampires, to capture one of them named Kate and trade her for the Colt. He sends Dean to get the blood, and himself, along with Sam, prepares for the operation. However, things don't go according to plan and John is taken hostage. At this time, Sam and Dean, not waiting for the signal, disobey orders and come to their father's aid. In the chaos, John pulls out a Colt and the bullet kills the vampire. This becomes the first confirmed case where the Colt legend turns out to be true. After the events with Colt and the vampires, the Winchester family finally unites. John, Dean, and Sam are working together for the first time in a long time. They now have a weapon that can kill a demon, and that changes everything. They get the coordinates of a new incident where the demon that killed Mary and Jessica may be about to show up. That's how the family ends up in Iowa, and things are shaping up to be familiar. A young mother with an infant lives in the house. Lately, she's been feeling a strange presence, hearing noises, and the appliances are going crazy. Sam starts having prophetic dreams in which a demon comes to this house and kills the woman. While the brothers are lining up a plan, John gets a call from Meg. She informs him that she has hostages, John's friends, and if he doesn't hand over the Colt, they will be killed. The man realizes that the demon is luring him out on purpose, but he has no intention of giving up. Instead, John agrees with his sons that the Colt will stay with them, and he will give Meg the fake. That way they can buy some time. Sam finds the house from his dream. Together with Dean, they set up an ambush, but things don't go according to plan. When Sam dreams that the mother is already in danger, he doesn't hesitate to rush inside. The Winchesters try to stop Demon, but it's too late. Mother dies just as Mary and Jessica once did, and Demon slips away. Meanwhile, John meets up with Meg. He gives her the fake Colt, but he fails to escape and gets caught. Turns out it was all a trap. Now his father is missing. The Colt is left with Sam and Dean, but they don't know where to look for John. And most importantly, the demon is still on the loose. After realizing their father is in trouble, Sam and Dean decide to take action. The only person they have left to turn to is Bobby Singer, an old family friend and a hunter with experience. He is the one who tells the brothers about the pentagram trap, a symbol that can keep a demon inside a room or body. Bobby already has a protective circle at home, and he helps them lay out a plan. However, before they can set out to rescue their father, Meg shows up. She attacks, but the Winchesters are ready for it. They lure her into a trap, lock her in the circle, and perform an exorcism session. In the process of exorcism, it becomes clear Meg's body was a normal woman all this time, and now that the demon has left her, she dies of her wounds. Before she dies, she manages to give the main characters a tip on where to find their father. The Winchesters break into the warehouse where John is being held. They disarm the demonic guards with holy water and traps, but realize at the moment of release that something is going wrong here. John is too calm. Once alone with the guns, the brothers realize that Azazel, the yellow-eyed demon who killed Mary and Jessica, has taken over their father's body. Sam thinks about killing the demon, but then their father will die too. So he shoots him in the leg. Azazel throws Sam and Dean against the walls and disappears from John's body, leaving him barely alive. Now the Winchesters are driving along the night road when suddenly a truck crashes into the Impala, driven by a demon-possessed man. This is the end of the first season. After the crash, only Sam regains consciousness. A truck driver comes up to him and the guy realizes that the man is possessed by a demon, which after a few seconds leaves the body itself. The Winchesters are taken to the hospital. Dean comes to his senses and tries to find his brother and father, but it's as if the people around him don't hear him. He enters the room and sees himself hooked up to machines, and soon Sam arrives. The doctor informs him that there is little chance of Dean surviving. However, Sam has no intention of giving up so easily. He goes to his father and asks him to think of something to save his brother. But John doesn't give any ideas and only asks about the Colt, after which he asks him to gather everything for the right of defense. With the list of necessary ingredients, Sam comes to Bobby and learns that his father did not intend to defend himself, but instead he wants to summon a demon. At that moment, Dean notices a silhouette prowling in the hallway and soon sees something taking the souls of dead patients. After a while, he meets Tessa. She is the only one who can hear and see him. Dean realizes that the woman is stuck between life and death just as he is. Meanwhile, John and Sam are fighting, because the son is sure that even now, when Dean's life hangs in the balance, his father is obsessed with revenge and wants to summon the yellow-eyed Azazel to kill him. All the while, Dean hears the fighting of his loved ones, and at one point he can't stand it and breaks a glass. So Sam begins to guess that his brother hears him and decides to arrange a seance. He learns that death itself has come for his brother and studies his father's diary. Dean also realizes that Tessa is the angel of death. Meanwhile, John summons Azazel to make a deal. He is ready to give him the Colt with the last bullet capable of killing him, but in return, he asks for Dean's return. The demon agrees, but makes one more condition which John has to agree to. Azazel takes over Tessa and revives Dean. Soon, John comes to the room. He asks Sam to forgive him for all their quarrels. John takes this opportunity to apologize to Dean as well, for he has given him a great responsibility since his early childhood, making him a warrior who never questions orders and sacrifices himself for his family. He then leans over his son and tells him what he has learned about the yellow-eyed demon's intentions for Sam. He asks Dean to take care of his younger brother, then leaves and gives the demon the Colt. A moment later, Sam finds his father on the floor. The doctors fail to save him, and John dies. The brothers burn their father and head to Bobby's. Dean tries to repair the car while Sam tries his best to talk to him about John's death. But the older brother does not want to discuss it. Soon the main characters find in their father's old phone a voice message from someone named Ellen, according to which she can help in the search for the demon. The brothers go to her and tell her about John's death. The woman introduces them to her daughter Jo and the local genius Ash, who in a couple of days promises to analyze all the information that may indicate the appearance of the demon. He, like the main character's father, uses weather reports and local news, but more globally than John. In order not to waste time, Sam offers his brother to investigate the mysterious deaths of people in the neighboring town. So the main characters find themselves at the fair. It was here that the girls saw a clown who killed her parents and then disappeared into thin air. The Winchesters take a job at the fair disguised as workmen and try to figure out what the big deal is. Meanwhile, the child of another family notices a clown that no one else sees. The brothers decide to follow them to make sure that this family is not in danger, and they are right. The clown knocks on the house. The child opens the door to him, and if not for Sam and Dean, he would probably kill these parents too. The main characters manage to save the girl, and it becomes obvious that the clown is not a vengeful spirit after all, but something else. Ellen believes that they have encountered a Rakshasa. This creature feeds on human flesh, but to enter the house it needs an invitation, so it takes the form of a clown, so that the children let them in. At first, the main characters think it's Cooper, but soon it turns out that the monster is actually a blind old man, with whom they had a conversation before meeting the owner of the fair. The main characters manage to kill the creature by stabbing it with a copper rod. The brothers return to Ellen's bar and learn that Ash has created a program that instantly calculates omens in the world. As soon as something shows up, he'll let them know immediately. Meanwhile, Sam tries to talk to his brother about his father again. He is tormented by conscience, because even in the last minutes of his life, he quarreled with John. And now he tries to fix it somehow. That's why he talks about his father all the time, grabs the first case and tries to talk to Dean. But now he realized that his brother was also in despair, and the fact that he was silent didn't mean anything, because that was how he coped with the pain of loss. Soon a new case comes up, and the brothers immediately take it up. A decapitated body is found in the woods. Only upon examination it turns out that the victim was a vampire. The Winchesters go to a local bar and ask the employee about suspicious people who go only at night. Then the guys leave, and a stranger gets on their tail. It turns out he's also a hunter who has been tracking vampires for a long time. Soon Dean kills one vampire, and on this basis finds a common language with Gordon. Sam doesn't like this guy, so he decides to ask Ellen about the hunter, and the woman advises him not to mess with him. In a motel room, Sam is kidnapped by vampires. Their leader Lenore asks to let them leave town because they don't kill people, but feed on the blood of cattle. At first, Sam doesn't believe her words, but when she just lets him go, he realizes that Lenore isn't lying. He decides to tell his brother about what happened, but Dean doesn't believe him, and when Sam manages to change his mind, it turns out that Gordon stole the car and kidnapped Lenore. The Winchesters find the hunter and ask him to let the vampire go, because she and her friends don't hurt people. Gordon doesn't agree nicely, and then after a fight, Dean ties him to a chair. Leaving, he begins to doubt, after all, they have killed quite a few monsters in the past. And what if some of them were worthy of life? Sam asks his brother not to blame himself, because they were brought up that way, and then everything was divided into black and white. But now everything is different and there is a place for gray shades in the world. The brothers arrive at the cemetery where their mother is buried. Here Dean notices a strange circle around the grave of a local student who died a couple of days ago. Suspecting that something is wrong, the Winchesters go to Angela's father's house disguised as her acquaintances. They fail to learn anything that could anger her spirit. However, soon from her friend Neil, the main characters learn that on the day of the accident, Angela heard about the infidelity of her boyfriend Matt. However, they don't manage to talk to this guy because he is found dead. Realizing that Angela could be a vengeful ghost, the main characters go to the cemetery, intending to burn her remains, but in the coffin they find nothing but a mysterious note. Dean is sure that her father is behind it, as he is a college professor of ancient Greek. Dean is sure that he resurrected his daughter, turning her into a zombie, but it turns out that it wasn't him. After reading Angela's personal diary, it becomes clear that Neil was secretly in love with her. Most likely, he is the one who resurrected her. At first, the zombie can't be found, and Dean remembers about her neighbor, with whom Matt cheated on her. Realizing that she is likely to come after her as well, the guys go to help, but they fail to catch Angela. Then the guys go to Neil and warn him to be careful, but the zombie senses fear and kills him. The Winchesters lure her to the cemetery, where Dean drives a stake into her. After this incident, Dean apologizes to Sam for those days, because he really wasn't himself. It turns out that he thinks John died because of him. He doesn't know how exactly, but he thinks he is responsible for his death. Sam has another vision in which a man walks into a store, chooses a gun, and then kills both the salesman and himself. The younger brother doesn't know who the man is or how to find him, so he and his brother go to Ash for help. Buddy helps them find out exactly where the potential victim is. Sam is sure that the vision has something to do with the demon, but the program does not give any omens. Then he decides to see if there are any people in town whose mother died in a fire like his. That's how the Winchesters find Andy. While Dean keeps an eye on the guy, Sam tries to prevent a disaster at the store, but nothing works out, and the man dies under the bus anyway. While the brothers argue over whether Andy is guilty, the guy finds them on his own. But it turns out that he has nothing to do with it, because Sam gets another vision, and in a couple of minutes it comes true. It turns out that the woman who, as it turned out, was Andy's biological mother died. Trying to understand what is the matter here, the main characters learn that the guy had a twin brother, Anson, who moved to this city and changed his name. Turns out he kidnapped Andy's girlfriend to kill her. After all, it's the only way they can be together as brothers. That's what the yellow-eyed demon told him in a dream, warning him that he had special plans for them. The Winchesters try to help Andy, but at the crucial moment to save his beloved and Dean, it is he who kills his brother. After all these events, Sam begins to fear that Azazel's words will become prophetic. Because somehow every person in whose childhood room in the past came a demon is capable of murder. Meanwhile, Ellen and Joe are fighting. The mother doesn't want her daughter to take on the investigation of a case in which a blonde woman dies. The Winchesters decide to help and come to inspect the apartment where the woman disappeared from. Here they find traces of ectoplasm. Such substances can only produce very evil spirits. The main characters inspect the house, as Joe suddenly appears. It turns out that the woman ran away from her mother and asked Dean not to give her up. Reluctantly, the guy agrees, and the trio begins to investigate. Soon it turns out that they encountered a killer who lived back in the last century. On his account was a few dozen deaths, although the investigation assumed the figures are many times more. It was because of him that the term serial killer first appeared. Just as the brothers feared, the ghost kidnaps Joe. In the end, the Winchesters manage not only to save her and the last missing person, but also to lock the spirit in his own cell. However, justifying themselves to Ellen turns out to be much more difficult. After all, her husband on the last hunt was with a partner who let him down. And that man was John, so she doesn't want her daughter to hunt with them. The main characters arrive in Baltimore, where lawyer Tony died under mysterious circumstances. Talking to his wife Karen, the guys can find out almost nothing, except that before his death he dreamed of something, and began to appear strange sequences of letters. When they go to the woman's house again, they find her dead, and a couple seconds later the police burst into the house and arrest Dean. Sheriff Diane tries to get Sam to testify against his brother, but nothing comes of it. Meanwhile, Dean realizes that the sequence of letters is an anagram. With the help of a lawyer, he learns that it's a street, not the name of a missing person. He creates a distraction, and Sam escapes in the meantime. In between, Diane sees a ghost and asks Dean about the supernatural. Realizing that everyone who sees this ghost is dead, Dean decides to help the sheriff and tells him where to find his brother. Sam and Diana find out exactly who is missing and go in search of her. Soon they manage to find her body in a bricked-up wall. Everything would be fine, except the woman notices a pendant. It turns out that these are only made to order, and she has the same gift from her boyfriend, Pete. It turns out he killed her, as well as Tony's lawyer and his wife. Diana immediately goes to arrest her boyfriend, who in the meantime has decided to take Dean out and kill him, supposedly while trying to escape, so he can pin all her crimes on him. Claire's ghost appears and creates a distraction, and in the meantime, Diana shoots her partner. Now that she knows about the supernatural, the sheriff realizes the Winchesters had nothing to do with it, so she lets them go. The main characters take on another case. Talented architect Sean jumped from the roof, and shortly before his death told that he was being chased by black dogs. Talking to a friend of the deceased, it becomes known that the guy came to an unexpected success 10 years ago. Soon the Winchesters learn about the disappearance of a brilliant doctor who quickly rose up the career ladder also 10 years ago. It turns out that they were all in the same bar, after which their lives changed abruptly. Sam and Dean find another doomed artist. 10 years ago, he made a deal with a demon, exchanging his soul for talent. True, he miscalculated with the choice of desire and spent all these years in poverty. It is he who gives a tip to another guy, who then also made a deal. That's how the brothers end up at Evan's house. His wife was sick with cancer and only had a few days to live. That's when he decided to make the deal. And now that 10 years have passed, the hellhounds have come for him. Dean goes to the crossroads and summons a demon. He demands to cancel the deal and call off the dogs, but the woman is unwilling to help him. Moreover, she confirms his guesses that his father sold his soul for his life. In the end, Dean manages to get what he wants, and the demon disappears. The older brother blames himself for his father's death, but Sam manages to cheer him up by telling him that continuing to hunt the undead is their father's legacy, and they must save lives in his memory. Sam has another vision, but this time it's about Dean. Sam sees his brother shooting a defenseless guy. Realizing that this is about to come true, the main characters go in search of the mysterious guy and find themselves in a small town in Oregon. According to the description of the appearance, the Winchesters manage to find out where he lives, except that coming to his house, the main characters face an unknown threat. The husband and son tie up the mother and are going to kill her, but the guys manage to save her, after which they bring the woman to the medical ward along with the deceased husband. The doctor studies the blood and comes to the conclusion that people in the city are infected with a strange virus that awakens them to aggression, because of which they attack loved ones. Since the city lost communication, Dean decides to go to the neighboring city for help, but it is not possible to go far away. The locals have set up roadblocks on the roads and kill anyone who gets close to them. Dean returns to the hospital, and on the way picks up a man who, like him, doesn't understand what's even going on here. That's when Dwayne comes into the hospital. He is the guy from Sam's vision. The main characters decide to tie him up and wait a little, because if he is infected, the virus will manifest itself. In the end, nothing happens, and Dean does not kill Dwayne. However, something the guys did look into. It turns out that the nurse was infected. She attacks Sam, makes a cut on his skin where her blood gets in. According to the logic of the previous cases, Sam, like everyone else, should get sick. So Dean kicks everyone out of the hospital and stays with him to be by his brother's side until the last second. Meanwhile, it turns out that they are the last people in town. Everyone else has disappeared like the legendary Roanoke colony. Several hours pass, but the doctor finds no traces of the demonic virus in Sam's blood. It turns out that he is immune. This is what Dwayne informs his boss about, because he, as it turned out, was possessed. Dean is worried because the demonic virus hasn't affected Sam. He decides to tell his brother about what his father told him before his death. It turns out that John asked to save him, and if nothing happens, he will have to kill Sam. The brothers fight amidst all of this. Dean asks to give him time to digest the latest news and figure out what to do next. Sam is not going to sit back either, and asks Ash to help him in his search for others like him. That's how he finds out about a guy named Scott who was stabbed to death in a parking lot a few weeks ago. Sam decides to find out what this is all about, and ends up meeting Ava. The woman tells him that a year ago she started having terrible headaches and then started having nightmares. She saw Scott's death a few days before his passing, and yesterday she saw Sam die as well. The main character realizes that she is just like him. The truth is that her childhood was not burned as a child, which means everyone with demon blood flowing in them can't just be tracked down. Sam and Ava make their way to the psychiatrist's office, who has the audio tape of the session with Scott, as gunfire suddenly erupts. It turns out that Gordon, a hunter, is out to get Sam. He found out about his abilities and purpose, so he decided to kill him, but Dean appeared in time and saved his brother. Sam calls Dean and tells him about the assassination attempt, but his brother already knows and tells him the place where they can meet. Sam guesses that Dean has fallen into a trap because he called the code word, but still goes to help. He manages to bypass Gordon's traps and knock him out, after which the brothers leave. The hunter tries to catch up with them, but he is caught by the police, who were called by Sam because he killed Scott. On the road, Sam remembers about Ava and decides to stop by her house because he has a strange feeling. Entering the house, the guys notice the mutilated body of her fiancé and a ring in a pool of blood. It turns out she killed him. The search for Ava does not yield any results, and the main characters decide to take up a new case. So they come to the hotel, where for the last month there have been several strange deaths. At first, the Winchesters thought that it was the mother of the hostess who does spells, but soon it turns out that everything is not so. She was not witchcrafting to attack, but to protect the inhabitants of the house from a ghost. It turns out that years ago, Maggie, the woman's sister, died here, who now comes to her granddaughter and plays with her. Having learned that the family decided to leave the family mansion, the spirit of Maggie decides to do everything possible for them to stay, so he persuades the girl to jump into the pool. After all, if she dies, her spirit will stay with her forever. The grandmother, having learned of her sister's intention, decides to save her granddaughter. She agrees to die in order to stay here with Maggie, and the spirit retreats. Meanwhile, Sam thinks more and more about the mission prepared for him by the demon. Realizing that even Ava has committed murder, like all the chosen ones he has known, Sam fears that he himself will turn into a monster. So he takes Dean's word that he will kill him if he can't save him. In Milwaukee, the brothers introduce themselves as FBI agents and try to find out exactly how a certain woman robbed a store and why she then killed herself. It turns out that she was pretty quiet, and no one can still believe in this crime. And yet this case is not the only one, because a month ago a bank was robbed, and it was done by an employee who was considered honest and quiet. And after the robbery, she came home and killed herself. So the guys come to the witness of the incident, Ronald. The guy saw the robber's eyes glowing strangely. Ronald is sure that he was not a human, but a mandroid. Sam demands the return of the footage from the surveillance cameras and tries to convince him that he was dreaming. The next day, the main characters go to the bank and view the visitors with the employees through the camera. They soon find one with glares in his eyes and decide to capture him. But they are interrupted by Ronald. He bursts into the bank with a gun and takes everyone prisoner until he finds his mandroid. Dean goes in search of the monster together with Ronald, and at the same time the bank is surrounded by the police. Soon it turns out that Henriksen has arrived, who has been dreaming of putting Dean behind bars since St. Louis, where the shapeshifter in his guise killed several people. Realizing that time is running out, the main characters try to find the monster as soon as possible, and soon they succeed. But Ronald is killed, and they themselves are raided by Henriksen. Dean and Sam tie up two Special Forces agents, steal their uniforms, and leave the building unnoticed. Sam visits a woman in a mental hospital who killed a man out of the blue and then went to the police and confessed to everything. The woman claims that an angel appeared to her and told her the will of God to punish the sinner. Sometime later, a similar incident occurs. Sam hopes that it is really an angel, because it would mean that they are not alone in this world, and somewhere there is a greater good, protecting them, and he has a chance at salvation. Except Dean remains a skeptic. He doubts, even when Sam sees the same thing as the others. Meanwhile, it turns out that all the victims were not without sin and went to the same church. After talking to the Holy Father, it turns out that Father Gregory was killed recently. Dean believes that he is the one who appears to people, because he could hear confessions and now wants to restore the balance by killing sinners. The brothers procure everything they need for the spirit summoning ritual, and in the meantime, Sam notices a guy in an angelic glow and realizes he's the one who needs to be stopped. The brothers split up and Dean follows the guy while Sam performs the ritual. As a result, it turns out that it wasn't an angel after all, but Father Gregory. The ghost really thinks he's become an angel, but he's not. The father says a prayer, and Gregory's spirit finally finds rest. Sam is upset, for it turns out to be no angel, which means they are alone in this world of evil and darkness. However, Dean thinks about the existence of a higher power. Dean calls Ellen, hoping that she has seen Sam, since he has suddenly disappeared. Soon the call rings, and his brother gives the address of the motel where he is staying. It turns out that Sam has no memory of the past week, and there are traces of blood on his shirt. Trying to reconstruct the events of the past days, the main characters find themselves in the house of the hunter and find him dead. The video camera footage clearly shows that it was Sam who killed the man. Back at the motel, Sam asks his brother to kill him because it seems he begins to lose control of himself. Dean is unable to do so, for which Sam beats him and runs away. In the morning, Dean finds out through the authorities where Sam is now. Turns out he went to Joe's house to make her bait. The younger brother is about to kill her like that hunter, but Dean shows up in time and saves the woman, but his brother manages to sneak away. Realizing he's going to the nearest hunter, Dean follows him. Sam arrives at Bobby's house, but he already knew about everything, so he put holy water in his beer. Together with Dean, Bobby puts Sam in a chair under the demon trap. It turns out that he is indeed possessed, and the same demon that was in Meg is in him. This time, though, he prepared better and sealed himself in Sam's body. A battle ensues, and Bobby manages to burn the seal, thus freeing him. Bobby tells them that the other hunters are going to find the killer of that guy, so they should be careful, and then gives them amulets against possession. A professor falls from a window and dies. According to rumors a few years ago, a female student also took her own life, so the main characters decide that they are dealing with a ghost. However, it gradually becomes apparent that they have encountered something else. One student is taken by aliens, and one man finds an alligator in the sewers. Meanwhile, Sam's laptop goes missing, and Dean finds his car with a flat tire. Realizing that something is wrong here, the main characters decide to consult with Bobby. So the trio comes to the conclusion that they are dealing with a trickster. This creature is something like a demigod, capable of creating realistic illusions. Soon the Winchesters go out to him, and Dean even kills the trickster, but it was worth it for them to drive away, as he approaches his body and it disappears. It turns out that the main characters killed another illusion. A woman named Molly stops the hunters on the road. She and her husband had recently been in a car accident, and then met a strange man with a ripped stomach, from whom she barely escaped. The woman asks for help, and the Winchesters try to take her to the police. But then the song she drove off the road to play again, and the ghost of Farmer Greeley appears. The hunters tell her about the ghost and ask her to show them where she saw him. Along with the search, Sam tells Molly about the reasons why ghosts stay in this world. Soon the trio finds the house and inspects it. It turns out that there was a secret passage in the wall, locked from the inside. It turns out that after Greeley's death, his wife took her own life. Then a ghost shows up and steals Molly. He hangs her by her arms and tortures her, while the main character does find his grave and burns the bones. Molly wants to see her husband and asks brothers to tell her what they've been keeping from her. In the end, the Winchesters bring her to her husband's house. It turns out that 15 years have passed since the accident, and there was not one ghost, but two. Molly died in that accident too. Every year on their anniversary, they would appear on the highway. She was always looking for her husband and Greeley to avenge his death. Sam manages to find words of encouragement, after which Molly agrees to let her husband go and walk away. An attack on a man becomes known. The man has dozens of ripped wounds, and the main characters suspect that this is the work of the werewolf. Therefore, they decide to talk to the deceased's assistant, Madison. The woman tells about her ex-boyfriend, Kurt, who's been acting strangely lately. Sam stays with Madison, and Dean goes in search of a potential killer. Except that he is attacked by Madison herself, and she kills her ex-boyfriend. So the main characters learn that she is a werewolf. However, the woman herself does not know it yet. During the time they spent together, Sam sympathized with her, so he decided to find a way to cure her. After all, she, in fact, like him, did not choose her fate. In the end, they managed to find the werewolf who turned her and kill him. Before leaving, Sam and Madison spend the night together, but it turns out that she is not cured. Realizing that there is no other way out, Sam has to kill her. Dean wants Sam to clear his head a little after the recent events, but circumstances take over, and they have to take on the job again. Under the guise of assistance, they sneak onto a movie set where a man has recently died. They try to understand what the matter is, and come to the conclusion that it is about a ghost, but what kind of ghost it is not clear yet. Soon there is another murder which coincidentally was caught on video. Revisiting the tape, the Winchesters notice a lady in white and find out who she is. It turns out that a few decades ago the actress killed herself because of unrequited love. The main characters go to the cemetery and burn her remains, but the series of deaths does not end, and another member of the film crew dies. Realizing that they missed something, the guys once again look through the footage and notice that the spell the actress casts is actually real. They learn from the director about Walter, who wrote the script for the movie, but it had to be completely rewritten, leaving only the spells. It turns out that Walter is the one who summons the ghosts and makes them kill those who ruined his creation. The amulet he used to control the spirits breaks. The ghosts attack Walter and kill him, and the brothers go on their next mission. The Winchesters are caught by the police and sent to jail, where they have to spend a few days before being transferred. That's when Henriksen, who has been chasing them for months, shows up. He's surprised that the brothers got caught with something as simple as motion sensors, considering how skillfully they've been running from him. What the FBI agent doesn't know, though, is that ending up in this prison was the main character's plan. It all comes down to the fact that their father's friend, Deacon, asked for help. After the opening of the old wing in the prison began a series of strange deaths. At first, the brothers think that this is the work of a violent criminal who died there. They find his remains and burn them, but it turns out that another ghost is at work here. The spirit attacks Dean and then kills another prisoner. So it becomes clear who to look for. It turns out that many years ago a nurse worked here, after which many prisoners died allegedly from a heart attack. She died in a riot of prisoners and now as a ghost continues to kill. Dean asks lawyer Mara to find out where the nurse is buried, and the woman gives him the information. Deacon, who works in the prison as a warden, helps the guys escape and thanks them for their help. The brothers get to the cemetery and burn the remains, thus saving both Deacon and the others. Meanwhile, Mara gives Henriksen false information about the burial place of the nurse, as she believes in the innocence of the Winchesters. Once again, people go missing. From all indications, it becomes obvious that a genie is to blame. Dean goes to his lair alone, and the monster attacks him. Dean regains consciousness in an apartment with a random woman, and then goes to the house and sees his mom there. It turns out he's fallen into a different reality, where Mary and Jessica are alive and he and Sam have the lives of ordinary people. The only thing that's different here is their relationship with their brother, since they hardly ever communicate. For a while, Dean enjoys the life he never had, but soon, he stumbles across news reports and realizes that all the people he once saved are dead. He manages to convince Sam to go with him to the genie's lair, where they find the woman he keeps dreaming about. This is how Dean realizes that his wish has not come true, and it's all just an illusion. He kills himself to wake up, and the plan works. The real Sam tries to free him, and then the genie appears. The brothers manage to kill the monster and save the woman. The brothers stop near a cafe. Sam goes to get dinner and soon disappears. Coming to his senses, he realizes that someone has transported him to an abandoned village, but here he is not alone. Soon, the guy discovers Andy and Ava, whom he met this season. The trio is introduced to Jake and Lily. Sam realizes that they were brought together here by a demon, as they each have abilities. Lily decides to escape, and soon she is found dead. Sam tries to encourage the others, keeping them from panicking. He's sure they can survive if they're kept together, except that's not why Azazel gathered them here. He comes to Sam in a dream and tells him that what's going on is a sort of selection, because he doesn't need an army, just one soldier. He then shows him the day of Mary's death, and Sam learns about the demon blood that happens to run in his veins. Meanwhile, Dean visits Bobby to work together to find the harbingers of the demon's appearance and find out where Sam is being held. But nothing comes of it. Soon, Dean is visited by a vision, which Andy relays to him at Sam's request. At the same time, he contacts Ash. Buddy found something that will help not only to find his brother, but also to win the coming battle. However, he does not have time to pass the information, because the bar together with all the hunters burns down. Meanwhile, Ava lures Andy in and kills him. Sam guesses that she has already gone over to the dark side. It turns out that Ava has been in this place for months, and in that time she has killed all her competitors, because Azazel was not only appearing to Sam. The woman is about to kill him, but Jake intervenes and wrings her neck. Sam offers Jake to fight Azazel together, but the guy also heard the demon's words and knows that only one of them can survive. A fight ensues, and in the meantime, Dean and Bobby show up. Sam is distracted by them and doesn't notice Jake sneaking up behind him and stabbing him. Sam dies and Bobby offers to bury him, but Dean has no intention of doing so. He can't accept his brother's death and decides to save him by all means. He ends up coming to the crossroads and summons a demon to make a deal. Except no one is going to give him 10 years like the others. The only thing she can offer is 1 year with a condition. If they try to trick her, Sam will die at that very moment. Dean agrees and returns to a resurrected Sam. The younger brother is determined to stop Jake, but they will need help to find out where he is. The Winchesters arrive at Bobby's house, who immediately realizes what's up. He berates Dean for being reckless, but Dean thinks that he did the right thing, because if it wasn't for his father, he would be dead too, and so his life means something. Soon the trio is found by Ellen and gives the map, which Ash managed to hide before the fire. That's how they learn about the mass appearance of demons and the one place they can't enter. It turns out that during his lifetime, Samuel Colt built churches and ran railroad tracks between them, creating a trap for the demons. That's where Jake goes on Azazel's errand. The main characters arrive on the scene and meet Jake, who is greatly surprised that Sam survived. After forcing Ellen to put a gun to his head, he creates a distraction and activates a key that opens a gateway to hell. Dozens of demons get out, break the railroad tracks, and break free. Azazel informs Dean that the Sam he brought back may not be the man he used to be. The demon intends to deal with Dean, but John appears from hell and helps his sons. Dean ends up killing Azazel, and Ellen and Bobby close the gates to hell. Sam guesses his death and learns that Dean only has 1 year left to pay the price. He gives his word that he will find a way to save him. In the meantime, Bobby and Ellen ask the brothers to be ready, because a war is coming, for which none of them was prepared. This is the end of the second season. Sam, having learned about the deal Dean made to save him, desperately searches for a way to break the contract with the Crossroads demon. However, there is no mention of this in any book. Dean himself tries not to think about his fate and enjoys life between hunting evil creatures. Bobby informs the Winchesters about the destruction of crops and locusts, thinking that these are nothing more than harbingers of the arrival of demons. The trio heads to the epicenter of the strange natural phenomena and ends up in a house where they find a family. All three have died without leaving the couch, and there are no signs of violent death or the presence of demons in the house. While the main characters are searching the area, a married couple, Isaac and Tamara, approach the house. It turns out that they are also hunters who want to kill as many demons as possible. However, knowing that it is their fault that the gates of hell have been opened, the couple refuses to work with the Winchesters. Soon another weird incident occurs. A woman kills a stranger over a pair of shoes, and the brothers decide to check the surveillance camera. It turns out that a few minutes before the incident, a guy approached the woman and whispered something to her, after which he seemed to be possessed and attacked the shopper. The main characters track down the suspect, but decide not to enter the bar yet, not knowing if there are demons there and how many. However, they soon have to revise their plan, because Isaac and Tamara also enter the bar. It turns out that the bar is full of demons, one of which forces Isaac to drink a chemical liquid, after which the hunter falls dead on the floor. The main characters manage to save Tamara and kidnap the demon, hiding him in the trunk. But it turns out that things are not so simple, because they are not dealing with ordinary demons, but with the 7 deadly sins. Now it becomes clear that the family was affected by sloth. Envy struck in the store, and Isaac died because of gluttony. Tamara still wants to go back and retrieve her husband's body, but the guys manage to talk her out of it, because the other 6 sins are about to come after them. Soon the demons do appear, and one of them possesses Isaac's dead body. Tamara can't take it anymore and attacks him, thereby breaking the circle of salt. While Bobby and Dean are attacked by 1 demon each, Sam has to fight 3 at once. At one point, a stranger woman who has been following him all day appears and kills the demons with a blade. Before leaving, she says that they will meet again soon. So the trio learns that besides the Colt, there is another weapon capable of killing a demon. Sam doesn't understand why Dean doesn't want to find a way to break the deal. His brother explains the conditions set by the Crossroads demon. That's how Sam learns that any attempt to break the agreement will result in his death. Nevertheless, Sam is not willing to give up and continues to search for answers, though so far to no avail. Dean finds a newspaper article about a strange death and suggests that his brother check to see if it's their case. Sam is skeptical, but when he learns that Dean's ex-girlfriend Lisa lives in town, he agrees to take on the case. The Winchesters arrive in town, and Dean immediately goes to see Lisa, hoping to rekindle their old romance. However, he ends up at a children's party and learns that the woman has a son named Ben. The boy looks a lot like him. However, Lisa assures him that he is not the father. Meanwhile, the same woman, Ruby, who recently saved Sam, sits down with him at a cafe. It turns out that she knows almost everything about him, including his connection to the yellow-eyed demon. She hints that even after his death, Sam is still special, and suggests inquiring about his mother's friends. She then gives him her number and asks him to contact her as soon as he finds out the truth. Meanwhile, it turns out that there have been a number of strange deaths in the area recently. Dean also notices the children's unusual behavior, but does not attach much importance to it. At this time, Lisa's friend, who had long since begun to notice that her daughter was not quite herself, began to see strange things. The girl's behavior gradually becomes frightening, and the woman decides to drown the monster pretending to be her daughter. However, the plan fails, and the monster returns home as if nothing had happened. Sam arrives at the house where another accident has recently occurred. It turns out that the man simply fell down the stairs. The main character notices odd marks on the facade of the building and pays attention to the girl behind the window. He begins to suspect that something is wrong with the children and soon realizes what it is. It turns out that they are changelings who feed on their mother until she dies. Dean decides to check if Ben and Lisa are okay, but the boy has already been replaced. In the end, the Winchesters find the real children and kill the monsters. Lisa thanks Dean for saving her son and offers to stay with them. The main character would like to stay, but he can't, so he leaves. Soon, Sam inquires about all of his mother's friends and learns that they are all dead. Ruby appears and claims that the yellow-eyed one was behind all these deaths, trying to hide what he had done to him. Not understanding how she knows so much about his family, Sam demands the truth and learns that she is a demon. He intends to kill her, but upon hearing that she can help save Dean, he changes his mind. Gordon's friend Kubrick visits him in prison and tells him that the gates of hell have recently been opened, allowing hundreds of demons to escape. Upon learning that the Winchesters were also there, Gordon asks him to track down Sam and kill him, convinced that he is not entirely human. Meanwhile, Dean learns that Sam not only did not kill Ruby, but also decided to believe her. Dean is convinced that she is lying and that his brother has made a mistake. But Sam assures him that they can use her, and that she may indeed be able to help them break the deal. At that moment, their father's phone receives a message that someone has broken into his storage unit. There, the boys find a variety of amulets, books, and artifacts, one of which, as it turns out, has been stolen. The boys quickly track down the thieves and learn that there was a rabbit's foot in the box. However, it is not just an amulet. As soon as a person takes it in their hands, they immediately start to have good luck in everything and everywhere, but if they lose it, they will die from misfortune. This is exactly what happens to one of the thieves when the Winchesters take the foot from him. But it turns out that the guys were acting on a tip, and the person who ordered the theft was a certain Bella. From Bobby, the main characters learn that she is not a hunter, but rather a kind of intermediary. The cunning woman manages to steal the paw from Sam, and now he has no luck at all. Dean leaves his brother at the motel so that nothing happens to him, and sets off in search of Bella. He soon finds the woman and learns that she already has a buyer for the rabbit's foot, so she can't give it to him. Dean steals the artifact and runs away, while Kubrick and his friend find Sam at the motel. Considering how easy it was for him, the man now believes that God himself helped him. He tries to find out what the demons who escaped from hell are waiting for, but Sam doesn't know the answer. When Kubrick is about to kill Sam, Dean appears and saves his brother. Bobby manages to obtain a powerful ritual that can not only destroy the paw, but also remove the consequences of its loss. The Winchesters head to the cemetery to perform the ritual, but before that, Dean decides to take advantage of the situation and opens several lottery tickets while the paw's effect has not yet worn off. When the brothers begin the ritual, Bella appears. She shoots Sam, forcing Dean to give her the artifact. But the main character throws it, and the woman mechanically grabs the paw. Now that she is cursed, Bella agrees to destroy the amulet and then leaves, taking Dean's winning tickets with her. Kubrick comes to Gordon again and declares that Sam is truly evil, and that God himself convinced him of this. Without going into details, Gordon asks to be released from prison so that they can deal with Sam together. While Bobby takes apart the Colt in hopes of figuring out what makes it special, the Winchesters take on another case. Investigating a strange suicide in a church, the brothers interview the local pastor and learn that several weeks ago, when they opened the gates of hell, unusual things began to happen in the city, and people who had previously led righteous lives seemed to have gone off the rails. Soon, the guys meet with Dean's friend Richie. The guy gives them a tip about Trotter, believing that he may be somehow connected to this. So the trio goes to a bar, where they meet the pastor. Dean notices a waitress who soon leaves with Richie, then returns and offers to take him aside. Meanwhile, Sam is following Trotter, but it turns out that the man has nothing to do with demons. Dean figures out that the waitress killed Richie and lured him here for the same purpose. He tries to kill the demon, but the building collapses, and now they are both trapped. While Sam searches for his brother with the help of the pastor, Dean learns that Lucifer really exists, and that Sam was supposed to be the successor to the yellow-eyed demon. The main character finds his brother, but they are attacked by a possessed man. He tries to kill Dean, but Sam shoots him with the Colt that Ruby helped repair. After what happened, Dean shares his suspicions with Bobby. Seeing how cold-bloodedly he killed those demons, Dean involuntarily recalls Azazel's words when, at the gates, he hinted that Dean had resurrected not quite Sam. Bobby doesn't believe it and reminds Dean that all demons lie. Now that they have the weapon, Sam suggests that Dean summon the Crossroads demon and force him to cancel the deal. However, his brother is against it, because if something goes wrong, Sam will die. Unable to reach an agreement, the main characters take on a new case. An attempt is made on the lives of 3 brothers, 2 of whom are killed, while the third miraculously survives. After questioning the man, the Winchesters realize that their initial theory about a werewolf was wrong. However, the next victim gives them a clue. It turns out that she and her boyfriend got lost in the woods and soon found the house of an elderly woman. The old woman invited them to rest, fed them pie, and then killed the boyfriend. The woman managed to escape, but before that, she saw a little girl who seemed to vanish into thin air. The main characters begin to think that it is a ghost, so they search for any information about missing or dead children, but nothing comes of it. Soon, a clue appears in the hospital. It turns out that many years ago, the doctor's daughter was admitted to the hospital and has been in a coma ever since. They enter the ward and see the father reading Grimm's fairy tales to her. The main characters realize that it is her spirit that is responsible for all these murders. While the doctor reads a fairy tale about Little Red Riding Hood, an elderly woman is brought to the hospital, where she soon dies. Dean tries to find her granddaughter and save her, while Sam tells the doctor the truth about his daughter. At first, the man doesn't believe him, but soon realizes that he is right, because he himself has seen his daughter's ghost several times. He couldn't imagine that his late wife had poisoned her, and that was what Kelly was trying to tell him. The father decides to talk to her, and the girl's spirit appears in the room. He apologizes to her for not knowing the truth all these years, and begs her to stop killing. At that moment, Kelly's heart stops, and the man who killed grandmother and was about to kill her granddaughter suddenly comes to his senses. The doctor thanks the boys for their help, and says that it is time to come to terms with the loss and let go of his daughter. Dean suggests that Sam follow his example and just accept it. But his younger brother has no intention of doing so. He takes the colt and goes to the crossroads. Summoning the demon, Sam demands that the deal be annulled, but it turns out that she also has a boss, and killing her will not solve anything, but Sam kills her anyway. The brothers head to a coastal town where a woman recently drowned in her shower. On the way, Dean blames Sam for disobeying him and summoning the crossroads demon. Still, Sam isn't going to apologize for trying his best to save his brother. Upon arriving in town, the main characters, posing as police officers, interview the aunt of the deceased Miss Case and learn that shortly before her death, she saw a ghost ship. The elderly woman tells them about a woman who convinced her that it was a ghost. Soon the boys find out who she is. It turns out to be Bella, who sold Miss Case amulets. In the evening, another resident dies. The main characters learn from his brother that he also saw the ghost ship. Realizing that the guy will be the next victim, the Winchesters try to save him, but they are too late, and the man drowns in his own car. Suddenly, Bella arrives and tells them what she has found out about the ship. It turns out that several centuries ago, a sailor was hanged on it, and before that, his hand was cut off, which now lies as an exhibit in the local museum. By destroying his remains, it is possible to get rid of the ghost itself. The trio goes to the event and steals the exhibit. But it turns out that Bella has tricked them again. She had a buyer from the start, but she needed help to get the hand. Everything would have been fine, but after the successful deal, Bella herself sees the ghost ship, so she comes to the Winchesters for help. By this time, it becomes known what criteria the ghost uses to choose its victims. It turns out that all the dead were responsible for the deaths of their relatives, which means that Bella is not without sin either. Despite their differences, the main characters decide to help and go to the cemetery. There, Sam performs a ritual to summon the spirit of the ship's captain, who was the brother of the hanged man. This gives the sailor a chance to take revenge and leaves Bella alone. To repay her debt, the woman gives the brothers a substantial sum for her rescue and leaves. Sam and Dean confront the vampire and learn that she met Dixon at the bar, who gave her vampire blood under the guise of a new illegal substance. She doesn't understand what's happening, but the Winchesters can't let her live and kill her. Soon the boys manage to track down Dixon and even save his next victim, but in the process, they encounter Gordon. It turns out that Bella helped him find them for a small reward, and now the hunter won't stop until he kills Sam. Dixon kidnaps Gordon and explains why he is creating new vampires. The thing is, his entire family was destroyed, and vampires as a species have practically disappeared. But Gordon doesn't care at all. He despises all evil creatures and openly tells him so. If Dixon originally planned to use him as a blood source for the newly turned, after hearing his words, the vampire changed his mind and turned him. Meanwhile, Dean calls Bella and threatens her with violence, as she has once again betrayed them. Soon, the woman calls back and gives the address where Gordon is located, hoping to appease the Winchesters' anger. Gordon comes to Kubrick and tells him about his transformation. He realizes that he is now doomed, but before that, he wants to kill Sam. Kubrick pretends to agree with his plan, but at the same time tries to get rid of him. However, nothing works out, and the newly minted vampire kills his former friend. Then he calls Dean and lures him to the warehouse with a woman's scream. The brothers come to the rescue, but Gordon manages to separate them. Left alone with Sam, the hunter attacks him while Dean fights the hostage, who turns out to be a vampire. Sam manages to throw a wire around Gordon's neck and cut off his head. After this mess, Dean decides to repair the car, and realizes that he must teach Sam how to do it, because in the future, he will have to live without him. On Christmas Eve, people began disappearing down chimneys. Sam thinks it's some kind of evil Santa killing people. According to legend, Santa's brother went down a slippery slope and now punishes people for their sins. But how he finds out about them is still unclear. A street Santa comes under suspicion, and they decide to follow him, but it turns out he has nothing to do with it. Meanwhile, another murder takes place in another house. In front of a child's eyes, Santa drags the father into the chimney. After inspecting the house, Sam notices a wreath exactly the same as the one found in the previous victim's house. Bobby manages to find out who they are dealing with. It turns out that it is not Anti-Santa, but the pagan god of the winter solstice to whom people are sacrificed, marked with this plant. The brothers find out where the victims bought this item. This leads them to the home of a married couple who made these wreaths to sell in their shop. It turns out that they are the pagan gods themselves. They take the brothers captive and prepare to perform the ritual, but the main characters manage to free themselves and kill the deity. Now that the city can sleep peacefully, Dean suggests celebrating Christmas like they did when they were children, because there won't be another one for him. Sam finds it painful to think about all this, but in the end he hangs up the lights, puts up the tree, and creates a Christmas atmosphere to make Dean happy. A woman dies under strange circumstances. Sam finds a witch's bag in her house. To find the killer, the main characters try to figure out the motive, and soon find out. It was all about jealousy. It turns out that the deceased woman's husband had a mistress who couldn't accept the breakup and decided to take revenge not only on her rival, but also on her lover. The Winchesters managed to save Paul. Sam finds the witch's bag and burns it, thus neutralizing the spell. The main characters learn about Amanda, but when they arrive at her home, they find the woman dead and another bag in her room. The brothers realize that it was not just one witch who was at work here, but a whole coven, and quickly identify the potential witches. Ruby appears and asks them to leave town as soon as possible, because witches are not the greatest evil. They are servants of a powerful demon that the brothers cannot defeat. Dean refuses to listen to Ruby and tries to kill her, but Sam prevents him from doing so. The brothers argue at the motel. At some point, Dean realizes that something is wrong. Guessing that witches are behind it, Sam takes the Colt and goes to the local coven, while Ruby saves Dean by giving him some kind of elixir. Upon reaching the trio, Sam is unable to figure out which of them is responsible for Dean's suffering, but soon identifies one of them. The thing is, the other two have been incredibly lucky lately, and only Themi has gotten nothing. Sam's intuition does not fail him, because there really is a powerful demon inside the woman's body. She kills one of the women and tells the other that she sold her soul for the success she so desired. The demon tells Sam that he will not be able to lead an army, because a true leader has already appeared in the West, who will not tolerate competition. Dean appears and tries to save Sam, but to no avail, as the demon is too powerful and intends to kill them both. Ruby bursts into the house and asks to be taken back. It turns out that in the past, she was a witch who sold her soul to the demon. She fails to deceive the demon, but the last surviving witch begins to recite a spell, momentarily weakening the demon. This is enough for Dean to raise the blade and stab Themi. Ruby asks the Winchesters to leave while she covers her tracks, then comes to Dean. He learns that all demons were once human, which means that he too will one day turn into a monster, because hell will burn away everything human in him. Ruby reveals the truth to him that it will be impossible to save him from the flames of hell, and that she lied to Sam so that he would let her get close to him. She tells him all this only so that he will help his brother sharpen his skills, because in the coming war, he will be all alone. When asked why she needs all this, Ruby replies that despite everything, she still remembers what it's like to be human. Soon, the main characters learn that Bobby fell asleep and did not wake up. Examinations reveal no medical conditions, so the doctors are powerless to help. The brothers cannot leave things as they are, and begin to search for any clues. This is how the Winchesters learn that Bobby came here for a reason. He was investigating the strange death of a doctor who also fell asleep and did not wake up. Dean learns from the assistant that the doctor was conducting experiments, and the main character visits one of the test subjects posing as an FBI agent. It turns out that Jeremy had not seen dreams since childhood, and the doctor helped him regain his dreams with the help of certain roots. Sam manages to find out about the African root. It turns out that with its help, you can enter someone else's dream, which is most likely what one of the doctor's test subjects did in order to kill him in his sleep. The main characters decide to enter Bobby's dream and ask Bella to get the root. The woman arrives immediately, supposedly to repay Bobby's debt, since he once saved her. The Winchesters enter his consciousness, and soon Dean finds his friend. However, the man is frightened and tries to hide from the woman he once killed because of her obsession. At this time, Sam sees Jeremy. The guy is very surprised to see Sam, because he is not from this dream. Suddenly, all three wake up. It turns out that Jeremy was able to enter Bobby's dream because of a piece of DNA he left behind when the guy offered him a drink. Dean realizes that he fell for the same trick, which means he is now in danger too. The main characters try to find a way to break this connection, but so far nothing works. His strength is running out, and Dean decides to go to sleep after all, so he can deal with Jeremy himself. Sam takes some of his brother's hair and goes into the nightmare with him. Here, Dean sees himself and the fears he has been living with for the past few months. The older brother is afraid that one day he will become a demon. After Sam manages to trick Jeremy and get rid of his influence, Dean confesses to his brother that he is actually afraid of dying. Returning to their room, the main characters realize that Bella has disappeared. It turns out that she has deceived them again, but this time she has stolen the only thing that could help in the war against demons, the Colt. With no sign of Bella anywhere, Sam suggests taking on a new case. This leads them to a small town where Professor Dexter arrived last week and suddenly disappeared. He was planning to visit an exhibition called The Black Hole, doubting the reality of such a place where the laws of physics do not apply. The main characters begin their investigation and sneak into the room where the black hole is supposed to be at night. However, the owner of the establishment is not very talkative and shoots Dean. He dies in Sam's arms, and then the day starts over again. Sam realizes that he is caught in a time loop and tries to explain this to his brother, but just as he manages to get through to Dean, he dies again. This continues over and over again, until one day Sam notices a man in a cafe who has been ordering the same syrup every Tuesday for 100 Tuesdays in a row. But this time he orders a different one. Sam tracks him down and holds a stake to him. He is sure that they have encountered Loki, because in the past they have already dealt with this god of mischief, but they managed to kill him. However, as it turns out, this is not true. Loki actually survived. Sam manages to convince the deity to get them out of Groundhog Day, but that doesn't solve the problem because Wednesday comes around and Dean is killed again, but this time the day doesn't start over. A day, a week, months pass, and half a year later Bobby calls Sam. He informs him that he has managed to find Loki. The main character arrives at the specified location and quickly realizes that it is not Bobby in front of him, but the trickster himself. It turns out that this is how Loki wanted to show the futility of all attempts to save Dean. Sam begs him to take him back to the day when it all happened, promising that they will not hunt him anymore. Loki grants his request and returns Sam to Wednesday morning. The main character wakes up, sees his brother, and leaves to search for Bella, as if those 6 months without Dean were a nightmare. The Winchesters find Bella's number, but she is not there. Soon the phone rings, and a woman says that she has planned everything. At that moment, the police, led by Agent Henriksen, break down the door. The brothers are taken to the local police station to wait for a helicopter that will take them to the most secure prison. Despite all their attempts to declare their innocence and the existence of demons, the main characters have to wait behind bars for new orders. Soon, Steven, Henriksen's boss, appears. After giving instructions, the man goes straight to the prisoners. He shoots Dean, but Sam intercepts the weapon in time and casts a spell, realizing that he is facing a demon. While the Winchesters try to prove that they did not kill Steven, police officers are dying on the street, and then the lights go out in the building. To help Dean, Sam persuades Nancy, an employee, to bring them clean towels for his brother's wound, and when the woman approaches the bars, he grabs her and steals the cross. Thanks to this, the main characters manage to exorcise the demon from Henriksen's body, who, while possessed, killed the sheriff. Now that everyone has seen it with their own eyes, they begin to believe the brothers' words. The main characters pour salt on the doorsteps and windows and draw symbols to keep the demons out. At this time, a black cloud approaches the station and possesses the people outside. A police officer decides to look out the window and breaks the spell, allowing Ruby to sneak into the station. She declares that all the demons were sent by the rising star Lilith, who sees Sam as a threat and intends to destroy him at any cost. The only thing that could help is the Colt, but Bella stole it. Ruby is furious and cannot understand how such a weapon could have been lost, but soon comes up with a solution. There is a spell that will banish all demons within a mile, including herself. She is willing to make these sacrifices in the name of victory. However, it turns out that the ritual requires the killing of the Virgin Nancy. Although the woman herself is not opposed to dying for her loved ones, Dean comes up with a different plan. They let the demons in and massively exorcise them. Henriksen thanks the brothers for their help and assures them that no one will look for them from now on, because he will indicate in official documents that they died in a helicopter explosion. Soon, Ruby arrives at the motel and turns on the news. It turns out that immediately after they left, Lilith came to the station and killed everyone there, including Henriksen and Nancy. The demon reminds them that her plan was for only one victim, but because of them, half a dozen people died. Ruby gives them amulets to throw Lilith off the trail and leaves. Ed and Harry, known as ghost hunters, assembled a team and infiltrated Morton's house. Rumor has it that the place is full of ghosts, and no one has ever managed to escape alive. Here they want to catch a spirit that only appears in leap years. The team sets up cameras and begins the hunt. At that moment, the Winchesters show up, who were planning to destroy the ghost. It soon becomes clear that there is more than one spirit wandering around here, and each of them relives their death over and over again. Realizing how dangerous the situation is, the main characters try to get the hunters out of the house. However, the guys are afraid of missing out on a sensation and refuse to leave the house. While the main characters argue, the ghost of the mansion's former owner, Freeman, grabs Corbett, one of the team members, and seals all the exits from the house, turning it into a trap. While searching for the missing Sam, Dean, and their allies, discover the ghost's personal belongings and learn his story. It turns out that during his lifetime, Freeman was a janitor at a hospital and was afraid of Russians, so he built a bomb shelter in the basement of his house. On his birthday, which fell on February 29th, he brought several corpses from the morgue and sat them down at a festive table in this shelter, after which he took his own life. Soon, Freeman catches Sam, sits him down at the table with Corbett, and begins to organize a sinister celebration. Then the ghost kills the cameraman and intends to kill Sam, but Dean manages to save his brother. After his death, Corbett becomes a ghost, and, like all the other ghosts in the house, relives his death over and over again. Ed manages to break the cycle, after which Corbett attacks Freeman, thus putting an end to the sinister events in Morton House. Ed and Harry want to show the footage to the world, but the Winchesters destroy the recordings because people are not yet ready to learn the truth about the supernatural. The brothers consult professors, witches, and fortune-tellers, but no one knows how to break the deal with the demon. Sam suggests calling Ruby, hoping that she will be able to help, but Dean tells him the truth that she is powerless. With no other option, the boys take on a new case. This leads them to a small town where many residents have recently been receiving calls from deceased individuals. The calls are coming from a number that is over 100 years old. To investigate, the main characters visit the telephone company, where they learn that 10 people have recently received calls from this number. Soon Dean receives a call from his father. He claims that the demon who bought his soul is now in town, and he knows how to kill it. Dean immediately believes him and ignores Sam's doubts. But it soon becomes clear that Sam was right, and it's not their father. It turns out that they are facing a creature that devours souls. In legends, it is referred to as a Krakata, The monster contacts the relatives of the deceased and makes them kill themselves. Sam tells Dean about this and goes to the telephone company, but it turns out that he was not talking to his brother, but to the Crocata, who lured him into a trap. While Sam fights the monster, Dean prepares for a ritual he supposedly learned from his father, but soon he realizes that he was wrong and that Sam was actually right. After dealing with the monster, Dean admits for the first time in a year that he is actually scared. He is afraid of going to hell, which is why he so easily believed that he still had a chance at salvation. The brothers capture another demon and torture him in hopes of finding out who has Dean's contract. However, they get no answers and expel him. While searching for answers, the main characters investigate the strange murder of a young man whose liver was professionally removed. Soon, there are more and more victims. Some manage to survive, while others do not. It all depends on which organ is removed. Upon learning that the wounds were sutured with silk thread, Sam figures out who they are dealing with. He is certain that they are dealing with Dr. Benton. According to his father's diary, he lived in the early 19th century, was interested in alchemy, and then simply disappeared. Years later, corpses with cut-out organs began to appear. This is how he replaced worn-out body parts, helping himself to live forever. Meanwhile, Bobby calls with news. His friend has seen Bella and can tell them where to find her. Dean immediately sets off, hoping to get the Colt back, but Sam decides to stay. He believes that his brother can be saved by learning Dr. Benton's secret. Unable to agree, the brothers part ways. Dean learns not only where Bella is now, but also about her past. It turns out that she killed her parents and then took their property. Dean tracks down the fugitive and demands that she return the Colt. But when he realizes that she no longer has it, he intends to kill her. However, at the last moment, he notices herbs above the door that are meant to scare away hellhounds, so he changes his mind and simply leaves. On the way, Dean learns that Sam managed to steal the doctor's diary and obtain the secret formula, although he has not yet been able to fully decipher it. In the middle of the conversation, Sam is kidnapped by the doctor, but Dean manages to rescue him in time. Benton begs them not to kill him, promising in return to reveal the secret of his immortality. However, Dean is against this idea. Since they can't kill him anyway, the brothers stuff the doctor into a huge box, chain him up, and bury him. Meanwhile, Bella arrives at the motel and tries to kill the Winchesters. But this time, Dean outsmarts her. The phone rings, and he tells her that he knows about her problems. It turns out that she made a deal with a demon 10 years ago, and now it's time to pay up. She tried to negotiate with the demons and stole a Colt for them, but they changed the terms, and now they want Sam dead. Realizing that she can't survive, Bella tells the brothers that Lilith has Dean's contract. Dean has about 30 hours left to live. Bobby manages to find a way to locate Lilith. Sam suggests calling Ruby and taking her blade to try to kill the demon. Dean is against this idea, but his brother decides to disobey him anyway and calls Ruby. He learns that he can defeat Lilith on his own, but to do so, he will need to use his power. Dean anticipated this outcome, so he goes to the basement and lures Ruby into a trap, having previously stolen the blade. Time is running out, and the closer it gets to the hour of reckoning, the clearer Dean sees the true faces of the demons. The trio arrives at the house where Lilith has taken up residence in the body of a little girl. Ruby appears and enters the house with the Winchesters, but just as Sam reaches the child, it becomes clear that Lilith has changed her shell. Time is up, and Dean sees the hellhounds. The trio tries to hide in the room, after which Ruby asks Sam to return the blade so she can find Lilith and kill her. But Dean notices that Ruby is no longer in the woman's body. The demon opens the doors, breaking through the protective barrier, and the hellhounds tear Dean apart in front of Sam. When the main character dies, Lilith decides to deal with the second brother, but at some point realizes that her power has no effect on him. Without waiting for Sam to banish her to hell, the demon fearfully leaves her body. In the final scenes of the episode, we see Dean screaming, suspended in hell. This is the end of the third season. Dean regains consciousness in a grave and attempts to escape. Once he succeeds, he makes his way to a gas station, cleans himself up, and notices a handprint on his shoulder. Dean soon contacts Bobby, but the man assumes it is a prank and does not believe him. Dean visits a friend who thinks he is something supernatural, so he repeatedly attempts to stab him with a silver knife and pour holy water on him. But Dean passes all these tests. Trying to understand how he managed to escape from hell, Dean learns that Sam has not been in touch for several months. The main characters find Sam in the company of a woman. They are both convinced that the younger brother has made a deal with a demon, but it turns out that this is not the case. Dean and Bobby are glad that Sam's soul remains pure, but the question of who saved him and why remains unanswered. They turn to medium Pamela for help. However, during the seance, she is unable to find out anything except his name. A certain Castiel warns her and asks her to end the seance, but the woman decides to see it through to the end. When she manages to get close to the answer, her eyes are literally burned by a bright light. At the cafe, the brothers encounter demons, but they don't know anyone powerful enough to save a person from hell. The main characters leave, but Sam wants to return to kill them, while Dean is more interested in searching for the mysterious Castiel. In the end, the brothers split up without telling each other their intentions. Sam returns to the cafe and finds the bodies of people with burned eyes. He tries to interrogate the surviving demon, but she doesn't say anything. Then Sam points his palm at her and uses his gift to banish her to hell. Meanwhile, Dean summons Castiel and learns that he is not a demon, but an angel who saved him only because Dean still has work to do in this world. Dean tells Sam and Bobby about the angel, and although the others don't question this fact, Dean himself doesn't understand why God ordered him to be rescued. Meanwhile, Bobby is concerned that one of the hunters has stopped communicating, so he suggests that the Winchesters go to her house to check if everything is okay. However, upon entering the house, the main characters notice Salt and realize that Olivia was trying to protect herself from a ghost. The trio finds the hunter's torn body and decides to check on the others. It turns out that this is not the only such case. Soon, Sam sees a ghost. Henriksen behaves differently from the other restless souls. He is furious and very angry because Lilith was looking for Sam at the police station, which means they died because of him. Dean arrives just in time and shoots Henriksen with salt. Meanwhile, Bobby is not answering his phone, and the Winchesters rush to him, suspecting that he is also in danger. While Sam searches for Bobby, Dean encounters Meg's ghost. Meanwhile, Sam manages to find Bobby, who was nearly killed by the ghosts of the twins. The main characters try to understand why so many spirits have appeared. Dean remembers seeing a mark on Meg's hand, and Henriksen had the exact same one. Bobby manages to find out what it means. It turns out that the sudden appearance of ghosts and their anger towards the living is nothing more than the rising of the witnesses, described in the Book of Revelation. In the end, Bobby finds a spell that can send the ghosts back. At night, Dean meets with Cass, who confirms Bobby's words. It turns out that the rising of the witnesses is one of the 66 seals. When the last one is broken, Lucifer himself will be set free, and with him will come the apocalypse. At night, Sam leaves to meet Ruby, and soon Cass arrives at the room. He asks Dean to stop this and, without specifying the details, touches his head. So Dean is transported back in time and meets his father. He doesn't understand what exactly he is supposed to do, but when he sees his mother, he begins to think that he must prevent her death. It turns out that Mary was a hunter, like her father Samuel. However, with John, Mary hoped to start a family and retire, fearing that her own children would live in the same fear as she did. Entering the house as a guest, Dean learns that a strange incident has occurred nearby and decides to check it out. There he encounters one of the victims of the yellow-eyed demon and decides that now is his chance to kill Azazel. He takes the colt and, with the help of his father's diary, learns where the next attack will take place. But then Mary and her father arrive. In the end, the yellow-eyed demon leaves the body and disappears. Dean tells his grandfather the truth about himself and Mary. He asks for help in capturing Azazel, but it soon becomes clear that the demon has possessed Samuel and apparently spotted Mary on that very day. Dean learns that Azazel does not make deals in exchange for souls, but only fulfills the requests of people who then agree to let him into their homes in 10 years. Azazel does not reveal why he needed to raise a whole generation of children with demonic blood, and then kills Dean's grandmother and goes after Mary. He pulls her out of the car and offers to make a deal in exchange for resurrecting John, whom he has just killed. Dean is too late to stop her, and Azazel disappears. Returning to the present, Dean regrets that he couldn't change the past. Cass reassures him, assuring him that it was impossible. He only showed him this so that he would learn about the demon blood that Azazel gave Sam. Cass asks him to stop his brother because he has stepped onto a slippery slope, and if Dean doesn't do it, the angels will stop him themselves. Sam tries to find out where Lilith is, but nothing works, and he has to banish the demon. Dean sees all this and realizes that his brother has lied to him and continues to use his power. Moreover, he learns that the woman he saw with him at the motel is not just a fling, but Ruby, who has been with him all along. The brothers argue, and Dean tries to explain to Sam that he has gone down a slippery slope, and even the angels want him to stop. Sam himself thinks he is helping people, because now it is not necessary to use a blade for exorcism, and many people manage to save their lives. The brothers' quarrel is interrupted by a call from Hunter Travis, who asks the boys for help. The Winchesters take on the case and learn that this time they are dealing with a Rougarou. Several decades ago, Travis stopped one such monster. Only then he didn't know that his wife was pregnant. Travis didn't kill the child and hoped that the gene would not manifest itself, but all these years he watched over Jack. In the end, his worst fears were confirmed, and the man is about to transform. He just needs to taste human flesh once. Dean tries to explain to him that this can be fought. However, words don't help much, and Jack thinks the Winchesters are crazy and demands to leave. Soon, hunger becomes unbearable, and the man begins to think about murder. Returning home, he finds his wife tied to a chair. It turns out that Travis decided not to follow Sam's plan, because experience tells him that Jack will be no exception and will sooner or later turn into a monster anyway. He tries to kill him and his wife because she is pregnant, but hesitates, and Jack breaks free. The man attacks the hunter and kills him in front of his beloved, then begins to eat his prey. When the Winchesters arrive at Jack's house, they find only Travis's remains. Now it is clear that there is no turning back, and Jack must be killed. In the end, they find him and burn him. In the car, Sam admits that he has decided to stop using his abilities, but he is not doing it for Dean or to please the angels. He is doing it for himself. Under the guise of FBI agents, the main characters examine the body of the deceased and find bite marks on her neck. The witness claims to have seen a vampire in a cloak, resembling Dracula. But the Winchesters know how vampires operate, and they certainly don't leave such marks. Soon, another incident occurs in the city. A werewolf kills a woman's boyfriend right in front of her, and an examination confirms that wolf hair was found on the victim's body. Sometime later, a mummy attacks a security guard. In between investigations, Dean asks a local waitress out on a date, but Dracula attacks her too. Dean saves the woman and tears off the monster's ear in a fight. All this leads the brothers to believe that they are dealing with a shapeshifter, only this time he is not impersonating other people, but is hiding behind supernatural creatures. It soon becomes clear that the monster is the waitress's buddy. She kidnaps Dean and her friend. At the last moment, the waitress manages to grab a gun and shoot silver bullets. In the end, the shapeshifter dies, and the Winchesters take on a new case. The Winchesters investigate the death of Frank, who allegedly died of a heart attack. However, during the autopsy, the medical examiner finds no heart abnormalities. At the same time, several similar cases have come to light. After talking to the victims' acquaintances, the brothers learn that shortly before their deaths, all of the victims experienced intense fear, which was likely the cause of their deaths. At this time, Dean himself begins to fear everything around him. After talking to Bobby, Sam learns that they are dealing with a phantom illness, and to stop it, they need to find the person who started it all. Soon, Dean coughs up splinters, and Sam decides that this is their clue. The brothers go to the sawmill and find the ID of a certain Luther, and then they see his ghost. They learn from the deceased's brother that he was in love with Frank's wife when he was alive, and when she disappeared, her worried husband decided that he was responsible. So he came to the sawmill, threw a chain around his neck, and dragged him around until he died. Later, it turns out that Luther had nothing to do with his wife's death. Dean's condition worsens and he begins to see hallucinations. From legends, Bobby learns that such a ghost can be killed by scaring it to death. Sam decides to repeat the day when Frank killed him. He lures Luther and throws a chain around his neck, while Bobby drags him around until the ghost disappears. The illness recedes, and Sam asks his brother what he saw before his supposed death. Dean does not tell the truth about seeing Lilith and being reminded of the horrors he had to endure in hell. A few days before Halloween, a good family man dies under mysterious circumstances. He ate only one piece of candy, but swallowed 4 razor blades along with it. After searching the house, Dean finds a witch's bag. Sometime later, a cheerleader also dies, and witchcraft is involved in this case as well. From legends, Sam learns about a ritual to resurrect the powerful demon Samhain, whom the witch is trying to summon with sacrifices. Once he is free, he will resurrect all supernatural beings, and then the world will be in trouble. Soon, Cass appears with his partner Uriel. They know about Samhain because his resurrection is one of the 66 seals, and it cannot be allowed to be broken. That is why they flew to this city, to wipe it off the face of the earth. Dean is against this decision and promises that they will stop the witch. The brothers find the teacher who started the ritual to bring Samhain back to life. He's planning to kill his next victim, a woman named Tracy, but doesn't get the chance. The Winchesters save her and kill the warlock, not realizing that the woman was his accomplice. Tracy completes the resurrection ritual and summons Samhain, who possesses the man's body and kills the witch, then goes to the cemetery to resurrect all the evil spirits in the city. Sam wants to use his gift, because one blade is clearly not enough to get rid of Samhain, but his brother is against it, because these abilities are luring him to the dark side. However, at the cemetery, the Winchesters have to split up. When Sam realizes that the blade doesn't work, he decides to use his power in front of Dean. The younger brother expels the demon, but the seal is still broken. Uriel comes to Sam and reminds him that he was forbidden to use his powers. As soon as he is no longer useful, they will destroy him. Before leaving, the angel tells him to ask his brother about hell, hinting that Dean remembers everything. Meanwhile, Dean regrets that they failed to stop the ritual, but Cass reassures him that God told them not to save the town, but to follow Dean's orders. The angel admits that he has many doubts and questions, but the only thing he knows for sure is that Dean will have to make many difficult decisions in the future. From the news, the Winchesters learn about a ghost who helped a woman, but the strangeness doesn't end there, because soon the brothers meet a girl whose teddy bear suddenly comes to life. It turns out that she made a wish and threw a coin into an artificial pool. After examining the site, the brothers find an old coin with the image of an ancient monster. According to legend, this creature was a symbol of chaos and destruction, and the only one who can retrieve the coin and stop the series of crazy events is the one who threw it. So the Winchesters find Wes, who announced his engagement to a local beauty a month ago. In normal life, the woman would hardly have paid any attention to him, so the brothers decide that he is the one who started this chain of events. They try to persuade him to retrieve the coin, but Wes is initially hesitant. However, he eventually realizes that this is not how it should be. He retrieves the coin from the pool, thus canceling all the wishes of the locals. Soon Dean admits that he lied to Sam when he said he didn't remember anything about hell. However, he doesn't want to talk about it yet, because he can't express all the pain he went through. The Winchesters are trying to earn some money playing pool at a bar when Ruby suddenly appears. She tells them the latest news about a woman named Anna who has escaped from a mental hospital and is being hunted by demons. Sam decides to find her, even though Dean doesn't understand why he blindly believes Ruby. At the mental hospital, the attending physician shows them Anna's drawings. This is how the Winchesters learn that she knows about the rising of the witnesses and the resurrection of Samhain. They decide to find her, but at her home they find only her murdered parents. Then Sam remembers the stained glass window in the church she often visited and realizes that Anna has decided to hide there. His guess turns out to be correct, and the boys do indeed find the fugitive. It turns out that she can eavesdrop on the conversations of angels, and this gift appeared on the day Dean was resurrected. Ruby rushes in and warns everyone about the imminent arrival of the demon. Sam hides Anna in the closet and tries to deal with the enemy using his gift, but the demon proves to be stronger. He pushes Sam away and goes after Dean, reminding him how they became friends in hell. Dean realizes that it is Alistair, but he can't do anything. In the end, the wounded Winchesters are able to escape, while Ruby manages to save Anna. Back at the motel, Dean asks his brother why he trusts Ruby so much, and he tells him about the events that took place after his death. It turns out that Ruby saved his life, and then gave him a purpose in the form of killing Lilith. Soon, a maid knocks on the door and tells them where Anna is. It turns out that Ruby possessed the woman to distract the demons. When the brothers arrive at the location, Dean thanks Ruby for looking after Sam all this time. A moment later, Cass and Uriel appear. They demand that Anna be handed over to them, as she is destined to die. The angels assure the Winchesters that she is not as innocent as they think. However, they are unable to reach Anna, as she sends them away with a spell. To get to the bottom of the truth and understand who she is, the brothers ask Pamela to conduct a seance. In the end, the plan works, and Anna remembers that she is an angel. Many years ago, she disobeyed an order, fell to earth, and now her own kind must kill her. To avoid this, she must find her lost grace. This is the energy she lost when she fell from the sky. Since she was flying like a meteor, such a phenomenon could not go unnoticed, and soon Sam manages to find out exactly where her fall was seen. Upon reaching the place, Anna realizes that her grace has been stolen. Meanwhile, Ruby apologizes to Sam, because if she had known that the fugitive was an angel, she would not have told him about it. And so it turns out that they are now between heaven and hell. Ruby is afraid of Alistair, and asks Sam to train his abilities again to banish him back to the underworld, but he refuses. Anna tells Dean that she knows what he had to do in hell. She asks him not to keep it all to himself and to share it with his loved ones, because there are people around who want to help. Uriel appears to Dean in a dream. It turns out that he stole Anna's grace so that she couldn't return. He fails to persuade him to reveal Anna's location, but under threat to Sam's life, the angel gets what he wants. Meanwhile, Ruby summons Alistair and offers to hand Anna over to him in exchange for a guarantee that she and both Winchesters will be able to leave. However, the demon refuses and tortures her until she agrees to lead him to Anna. So the Winchesters and Anna meet with angels and demons. While supernatural beings fight each other, Anna snatches her grace and becomes an angel again. It turns out that pitting angels and demons against each other was Sam's plan all along, and everything went well because they saved Anna. Dean tells Sam what happened down below. 4 months in hell felt like 40 years, where every day he was tortured and torn to pieces, and at the end of the day, Alistair would come and offer to end his suffering by becoming an executioner. He refused for 30 years, but then gave in. Dean tortured people's souls, and these memories cause him incredible pain. The Winchesters begin investigating the murder of Bill, who was found dead in his own home, locked from the inside. After questioning the housekeeper, the brothers discover that his wife died in childbirth, and 20 years later, his daughter took her own life in the attic. The boys go to the house to find something for the spirit to cling to, but it turns out that the house has already been sold. On their first night there, the children see a woman, and the Winchesters rush to their cries. Thinking they are dealing with a ghost, the brothers make a circle of salt, but the woman still passes through it. It becomes clear that they are dealing with an ordinary person. Dean and Ted find a hole in the wall and go in search of the woman, but are suddenly attacked, and Ted dies. It turns out that 2 feral children, the result of incest, live in the house. In the end, they are killed, and the brothers leave the place with a heavy heart. The Winchesters arrive in the City of Magic, where magicians perform their tricks on every corner. One of them is Jay, a card cheat. One day the man decides to perform his last trick, knowing that he will not be able to get out and will die, but a miracle happens and he succeeds. Although another person dies at that moment. Believing in his luck, the magician decides to perform the most dangerous trick and survives again, but another person dies in his place. The Winchesters find a tarot card on each victim and believe that Jay has learned to use real magic. However, after talking to him, they realize that they were wrong and that he has nothing to do with it. Next to come under suspicion is his best friend Charlie, but he also dies during one of Jay's tricks. Then the man himself begins to believe that his show is killing people, so he turns to the brothers for help, whom he recently considered cuckoo. The guys suggest that he distract friend Vernon while they search his room. There they find a flyer with a photo of a young man with a scar and immediately realize that it is Charlie after all. While Vernon and Jay are sorting things out, young Charlie approaches them. It turns out that he is over 100 years old and is ready to share the gift of immortality with his friends. They just need to want it. The Winchesters try to stop him, and Charlie demonstrates his power by trying to kill the brothers. A moment later, the man is stabbed and learns that Jay planted a tarot card on him to stop him. Meanwhile, Sam learns from Ruby that Lilith has already broken 34 seals, and the only way to stop her is to continue improving his abilities. At first, Sam refuses, but then agrees. A murder has taken place at the school where Dean and Sam once studied. The younger brother questions a girl and learns that she couldn't control herself, but there was no smell of sulfur or black smoke. When the Winchesters cross the threshold of the building, they immediately remember their youth. Sam wanted to be normal, so he didn't show the local bully Dirk that he could stand up for himself. However, when the guy picked on the weak student Barry, Sam couldn't take it anymore and got into a fight with him, then gave him a nickname, not knowing that it would stay with him for the rest of his life. Meanwhile, the series of incidents continues, and Dean finds a list of everyone who has ever died at the school. Barry was among them. Thinking that he has become a ghost, the brothers burn his bones and prepare to leave. But before that, Sam decides to meet with his teacher. When Sam returns to school, he is attacked by a female student. She knows his name and is clearly furious. He manages to grab a handful of salt and exorcise the spirit from her. Soon, Dean reviews the cases of all the victims and finds something they have in common. They all rode the same school bus. The brothers decide to search it but find no belongings of the students. The only clue is the bus driver. It turns out that Dirk was his son, and the Winchesters decide to talk to him. It turns out that Dirk was bullied at school, and after his mother's death, he changed completely. Sam feels guilty because Dirk started getting bullied after Sam beat him up and gave him a hurtful nickname. It turns out that Dirk's father kept his son's hair as a memento and carried it around on the bus. Dean finds the lock of hair in time and saves his brother from the ghost that appears. The Winchesters arrive at the prison and interview a man who killed his wife for no apparent reason. It turns out that they had no problems until he went to a strip club where he met a woman. She was the embodiment of his ideal, for whom he killed his wife, and his case is not the only one in town. Sam goes to see the expert carer, who performed autopsies on the wives and examined their husbands. She found nothing unusual except for elevated levels of oxytocin in the men's blood. Bobby suggests to the guys that it might be a siren. According to legend, these creatures are indeed capable of luring men, prompting them to commit insane acts. However, it is not so easy to identify her. She appears to her victim in the form that seems ideal to them. Soon, FBI agent Nick shows up. He says he's already found some interesting clues. The brothers decide to take advantage of the situation and split up. While Dean and Nick are at the bar tracking down the siren, Sam goes to Kara's place to check out the killer's blood samples. But it turns out they're gone. The couple have a heart-to-heart talk and grow closer, but soon Dean calls and says that Kara is the siren. He is sure of this because Nick found hyacinths at every crime scene, and there is an identical flower in Kara's office. Thinking his brother is obsessed, Dean decides not to take him on the case and goes in search of the killer with Nick, who turns out to be the real siren. After poisoning the Winchesters with his saliva, He turns Dean against Sam and demands that he kill him. When Sam shows up, he poisons him too. Nick stands and watches as the brothers fight over him and are about to kill each other. At that moment, Bobby appears and kills the siren by stabbing him with a knife. Following Bobby's lead, the brothers arrive in a town where no one has died in the past 10 days. This seems unusual, since terminal cancer or a gunshot wound to the heart should have taken lives. However, this did not happen. Bobby believes that the reason is that the Grim Reaper has been kidnapped. If the demons manage to kill Death, another seal will be broken. Realizing that only the dead or dying can see Reapers, Dean suggests calling Pamela for help and asking her to put them into a trance. The plan works, and the brothers become ghosts. Soon they find a boy who was the last person to die in the city. From him, the brothers learn that the Reaper was kidnapped by Black Smoke. After that, a new Reaper appeared, Tessa, who came for Dean in the second season. Dean tells her that the angels considered his life meaningful and brought him back from hell, but Tessa asks him not to be fooled by them and to trust his instincts, because deep down he knows that miracles don't happen. Then the Black Smoke appears and takes Tessa away. Dean and Sam arrive to rescue the Reapers and meet Alistair. It turns out that the death of 2 Reapers is needed to break the seal, but he fails to complete the task, and the brothers rescue Tessa. Cass appears and takes Alistair away, stating that it was he who called, not Bobby, because the angels needed their help. At this time, Pamela hears someone sneaking into the room. When a demon attacks her, the woman manages to bring Sam back, and he banishes it. Dean regains consciousness and sees Pamela bleeding to death. Before she dies, she tells Sam that she knows what he did to the demon. She is sure that he is mistaken if he thinks he is using his gift for good. Cass and Uriel meet with the Winchesters and tell them about the murder of 7 angels. They are sure that demons are behind it. That's why they tried to get the name out of Alistair, but all their attempts were in vain. Now they want Dean to torture his tormentor because he is his most capable student. Dean refuses, but the angels take him with them anyway. Cass admits that he would have done everything possible to avoid this, but there is no choice. Dean begins the torture and learns that it was he who broke the first seal. He was the righteous man who shed blood in hell. Dean is shocked and cannot believe it, but in a moment Alistair breaks free and beats him half to death, and even Cass is powerless to help him. Meanwhile, Sam calls Ruby and asks her to help find his brother, then drinks her blood to gain strength for the coming battle. Fortunately, he arrives in time and rescues Dean and Cass, but it turns out that it wasn't demons who killed the angels. After talking to Anna, Cass begins to doubt that his order really came from God. He guesses that it was Uriel who released Alistair. The thing is, the angel no longer wants to serve the Lord and is gathering his army to help approach the apocalypse. And he kills those angels who disagree with him. Cass refuses to go against his father, so Uriel attacks him. But a moment later, Anna appears and kills Uriel. Dean regains consciousness and asks Cass if he really broke the first seal. The angel confirms Alistair's words, adding that now only he can save humanity from the end of the world. Sam and Dean wake up as different people. From now on, the younger brother is a simple support service employee, and the older brother is a middle manager. Sam thinks he has seen Dean before, but Dean does not agree. Soon, strange things begin to happen in the office. An employee kills himself because he allegedly did a poor job, and a few days later, Dean witnesses another similar incident and sees a ghost. At that moment, he remembers that Sam recently asked him about spirits, saying he believed in them. It seemed strange to him at the time, but now he decides to discuss it with Sam. So the brothers go hunting and learn how to kill a ghost from videos on a ghost hunter blog. In the end, they manage to get rid of the remains. Sam begins to feel as if he has experienced something similar before, and that hunting is his true calling. He suggests to Dean that they become a team and save people from evil, but Dean refuses. Soon, management arrives and offers him a promotion. Dean decides to quit, admitting that he also loves hunting. At that moment, the boss touches his head, and Dean's memory returns. It turns out that he is facing the head of Cass, the angel Zachariah. After the incident with Uriel, he had to come down to earth and restore order here, as well as show Dean that he is a hunter not because of circumstances, but because it is his calling. Posing as FBI agents, the Winchesters arrive at a bookstore hoping to question the salesperson about the flickering lights and residents' complaints. However, the situation gets out of hand when they are mistaken for fans of the Supernatural book series. It turns out that an unknown author has written numerous books about their lives, detailing every case, every monster, and even every woman Dean has ever met. The brothers decide to find the writer and end up finding Chuck. After a while, they manage to convince him that they are not fans of his work, but real people about whom he writes books. And then Chuck tells them about his new vision, according to which Lilith will come to Sam. Not understanding how it is possible that Chuck knows everything in such detail, Dean decides not to take any chances and do everything he can to prevent this meeting from happening, because they are not ready for this battle. Throughout the day, the brothers try to do the opposite of everything so that Chuck's visions turn out to be wrong. But nothing works, and no matter how hard they try, everything turns out exactly as the writer said. Soon, Dean learns from Cass that Chuck is not just a seer, but a prophet. Then Dean asks Cass for help, hoping that he can intervene and prevent the disaster. But the angel cannot interfere with the prophecy. However, Cass hints at how to get rid of the demon. The fact is that the prophet is being watched by an archangel who will wipe out any demon that happens to be in the same room with him. Dean brings Chuck to the motel, and Lilith, fearing death, disappears. Sam tells Dean what he has learned. The demon offered a deal, promising to stop breaking the seals in exchange for their heads. The thing is, she won't survive the apocalypse anyway, so there's no point in it for her. Meanwhile, Chuck sees another prophecy, after which Zachariah appears. The angel asks him not to tell the Winchesters what he has seen, because it is better for people not to know their fate. Dean receives a call from his father and learns that they have a brother named Adam. Dean is convinced that this is just another trick by some monster, so he agrees to meet him and goes fully armed. Adam arrives at the cafe and passes the test with holy water and silver. From their father's diary, the boys realize that he really could be their brother. It turns out that the guy called John because his mother had disappeared. The brothers get down to business and learn that their father regularly visited Adam. Probably during one of his visits, he killed a monster, and that case is somehow connected with the current one. Dean goes to the cemetery to look for the creature that is opening graves and feeding on the remains. There he finds the bodies of Adam's mother and Adam himself. He realizes that Sam is in danger. Sam is tied up and told the story of how John killed their father, and now they have decided to destroy everyone he loved. They confirm that Adam was indeed their brother, then torture Sam. Dean appears and kills the monsters. It turns out that they were not werewolves but ghouls, which is why silver had no effect on them. In a dream, Cass comes to Dean and asks him to come to the address in the note, because he needs to tell him something important. The Winchesters go to the location, but find only the angel's vessel, a guy named Jimmy. The man tells the brothers that the angel has left his body, and he himself does not remember what exactly Cass wanted to tell them. Dean believes that Jimmy should be returned to his family, because that is what they do. They save people. However, Sam is sure that it is not safe, because demons could find him and torture him to reveal the angel's secrets. At night, Sam leaves to finish the demon's blood supply, and at that moment, Jimmy runs away. He returns home, but his wife does not believe that he talks to angels. Suddenly, Jimmy's friend arrives and says he will kill his daughter. The man tries to save his loved ones, but nothing works, and there are more and more demons appearing. The Winchesters show up and rescue the family. Sam warns Jimmy that this will never end, and that his family will be safer without him. The man decides to leave his loved ones and go away, but the plan fails because Amelia is already possessed. The trio has to return. Jimmy asks Cass to keep his promise and save his wife and daughter. When the Winchesters are caught by demons, one of them shoots Jimmy, but at that moment, his daughter touches the demon and expels it. A fight breaks out, and Sam can't resist the demon's blood. He drinks it in front of his brother, then expels the demon from Amelia's body. It turns out that Cass possessed the girl and helped Jimmy, as he had asked him to. The man begs to be taken as a vessel, leaving his daughter behind, and the angel grants his request. Then Cass stands up and leaves, telling Dean that he serves heaven, not people. Soon Bobby calls and asks the Winchesters to come to him urgently. The brothers go down to the bunker, where Bobby and Dean lock Sam up for his own safety. Dean hopes that Sam will be able to rid himself of the demon's blood influence while in captivity. However, Bobby begins to have doubts. Knowing that there are only a few seals left, he thinks that perhaps Sam should be allowed to use his power to kill Lilith. Dean decides to ask Cass whether Sam will be able to defeat the demon. It turns out that it is indeed possible, but it will require so much blood that he will never be the same again. But Dean himself can save people if he swears allegiance to the angels and God. In the end, Dean agrees. Meanwhile, Sam has hallucinations and breaks free. It turns out that Cass freed him. Sam rents a room where Ruby arrives. The demon gives him some of her blood and tells him where to find Lilith. The thing is, only she can break the 66th seal, which means she must be killed. Dean tracks down his brother and tries to get through to him, but nothing works, and Sam leaves. Dean meets with the angels. Zachariah and Cass won't let him see Sam, and it soon becomes clear that Lucifer's resurrection cannot be stopped, because it was predestined, and the angels always knew this. Meanwhile, Ruby helps Sam find Lilith, but the closer they get to her, the more he doubts the rightness of his actions. However, he still gives in to Ruby and goes to kill Lilith. Dean appeals to Cass's humanity and asks him to help him see his brother, because not long ago he wanted to do so, until he was sent to heaven. The angel reveals that Lilith is the last seal. As soon as Sam kills her, Lucifer will be set free. At the last moment, Cass changes his mind and helps Dean escape. They end up at Chuck's place. The prophet reminds them that this is not how it should be, and that they are disrupting the course of history. Everything around them begins to shake, and Cass realizes that the archangel is about to arrive, so he transports Dean to the monastery, where his younger brother is now. Sam immobilizes Lilith and intends to kill her, but hears his brother's voice and hesitates. Ruby and Lilith egg him on, and Sam ends up killing the demon, hoping that this will put an end to everything. However, Lilith's blood forms a kind of portal through which Lucifer must pass. Ruby finally reveals her true nature, stating that this was her plan all along, and that only he could kill the first demon converted by Lucifer. Dean manages to break through the door, and the brothers kill Ruby. After that, they watch in horror as Lucifer emerges from the portal. This is the end of the 4th season. The Winchesters find themselves trapped when Lucifer breaks free from his imprisonment. Moments later, the brothers are sitting on a plane, confused about who brought them there. Sam tries to talk to Dean and apologize, but Dean pretends that everything is fine. The Winchesters arrive at Chuck's place, hoping to find Cass there, but the prophet tells them that the angel is dead. Zachariah also arrives. He demands that Dean go with him and help defeat Lucifer. Dean refuses and sends the angel away with a spell. Chuck contacts Becky and asks her to find the Winchesters to deliver a message to them. The loyal fan finds the brothers and tells them about Chuck's visions. It turns out that the sword with which Michael sent Lucifer to hell is somewhere on Earth, and the prophet had a tip on where to find it. The brothers meet with Bobby to speed up the search. Sam tells him that he started the apocalypse. The man renounces him, saying he cannot forgive him. When Sam leaves, Dean figures out where to look for the sword. A moment later, Bobby attacks him, and his eyes turn black. Soon, other demons appear, among whom Dean recognizes Meg. She asks her friend in Bobby's body to kill Dean, but Bobby manages to regain control of his body, and Sam, who arrives just in time, helps his brother fight off the demons. While the doctors are saving Bobby's life, the Winchesters head to their father's warehouse, where, according to Chuck's visions, Michael's sword is hidden. Soon, Zachariah appears and declares that the sword is Dean, because he is its vessel. Realizing that the angel is not just trying to convince him, Dean guesses that Michael needs his consent, so he refuses. Zachariah is not going to give up and blackmails him with Sam. Then Cass appears and saves the Winchesters. He is sure that the brothers were transported to the plane by the same person who resurrected him, and that is God. Meanwhile, Bobby is saved. He tells Sam that he will never renounce him no matter what he does. Sam suggests to his brother that they should find the Colt, believing that it will surely come in handy in the coming war. But Dean does not share his enthusiasm. Meanwhile, we see Lucifer circling around his vessel and ultimately getting his consent. The doctors inform Bobby that he will no longer be able to walk, and now Cass is his only hope. However, it turns out that the angel has been cut off from heaven, causing him to lose some of his powers and will not be able to help him. Soon, Rufus calls and says that demons have taken over a nearby town. When the Winchesters arrive at the hunter's tip, they meet Ellen. It turns out that she has been hunting with Joe for a long time, but they had to split up here, and now she is not responding to calls. The brothers decide to go on a reconnaissance mission and capture everything they need to scare off the demons. In a store, Sam encounters some teenagers and kills them, and when Dean arrives, he notices his brother looking at the blood with thirst. Helen can no longer sit idly by. Together with Sam, she sets out to find Joe. Soon they find her, but she has joined forces with Rufus and believes that they are demons. Sam is taken prisoner and soon figures out what is going on. It turns out that one of the townspeople is not who he claims to be. He is one of the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse, namely, war. As soon as he twists his ring, people begin to hallucinate and see demons in each other. It turns out that there are no demons in the town and it is all the work of war. Dean also figures this out, but it is too late because Roger convinces the survivors that he and Ellen are possessed. The main characters rush to Rufus and Joe. They help them see the truth and now think about how to stop the war. The Winchesters catch the horseman and cut off his finger with the ring, thereby removing his spell from the townspeople. Sam confesses to Dean that he doesn't trust himself because he can't stop thinking about demon blood. Sam decides to step away from the business and suggests that his brother go his own way. Dean agrees and the brothers part ways. Sam gets a job at a bar and makes new friends. However, he cannot stay completely out of the loop, so he calls Bobby to tell him about the signs in the city. Hoping that he can send someone here to investigate soon, hunters arrive and launch a demon hunt, but not everyone survives. An enraged man comes to Sam and demands answers. The fact is that the demons told him the truth about the end of the world and his addiction to blood. At first, Sam keeps the truth to himself, but soon confesses. Then the hunters try to pour blood into him to make him stronger and destroy the demons, thus avenging their friend. But Sam manages to resist. Meanwhile, Cass asks Dean for help in finding God. He is sure that the Archangel Raphael may know where to look for him. The only problem is that he killed him earlier, so Cass asks Dean for help, because the Archangel would not dare touch Michael's vessel. Learning that this meeting could be the last for Cass, Dean decides to show him all the pleasures of worldly life. Soon they lure out the Archangel, who tells them that God has disappeared. He hints that it was not God who saved him, but Lucifer, because he needs all the renegade angels. Cass doesn't want to believe it, and the main characters leave. Dean cheers up his friend, remembering how he himself searched for his father when common sense told him that he was no longer alive. Meanwhile, Lucifer comes to Sam in a dream, and tells him that he is his true vessel, and no matter what he does, he will get him anyway. Sam tells Dean about this, hoping that his brother will let him return, but Dean reminds him of the past and insists that they stay apart. It's the best thing they can do. Soon Dean wakes up and realizes that he has traveled to the future and that Zachariah is behind it all. It turns out that the angel wants to show him what the world will be like if he refuses Michael. Here, Dean finds his future self and Cass, who has completely lost his powers and becomes a mere mortal. From his future self, he learns that he has not contacted Sam in the last 5 years, and that he recently died. Or rather, he said yes to Lucifer. Finally getting the Colt, The main characters prepare for battle with the devil. At the last moment, Dean learns that his future self deliberately sacrificed his friends, including Cass, to gain an advantage and kill Lucifer, but it didn't help him, and the devil destroyed him. Soon, Lucifer notices Dean from the past, but leaves him alone, assuring him that the future cannot be changed, and that they will still meet in this battle in Detroit, the outcome of which is already known to everyone. Zachariah brings Dean back to the present, hoping that he will come to the right conclusion and agree to become Michael's vessel. However, Dean makes a different decision and contacts Sam to propose that they fight heaven and hell together. Since no one knows where to look for the Colt, the Winchesters take on another case to learn to trust each other again. A quiet town is shaken by a series of strange deaths. The killers are famous figures from the past century. The main characters find a wax museum and assume that the spirits of the celebrities are tied to this place because of the personal items stored in the museum. In the end, the brothers burn them and think that this will solve the series of deaths in the town. But Sam is tormented by vague doubts. It soon becomes clear that his intuition was right, as another incident occurs. The Winchesters re-examine the cases, and Sam finds strange seeds in the bodies of the victims. This leads the brothers to the legend of Leshy, according to which a pagan god killed his own followers. After learning how to destroy it, the main characters go on the hunt. The deity captures them and prepares to perform a ritual to quench its thirst. Leshy, in the guise of a pop star, gets the better of Dean, but Sam manages to free himself and kills the deity. Soon the brothers take on another strange case. A woman scratched her brain out with powder, a boy died from an electric shock from a toy, and the tooth fairy flew to a man and pulled out his teeth, leaving a few coins. The Winchesters manage to narrow down the search for the source of all these misfortunes. That's how they meet a boy named Jesse. It turns out that all the children's horror stories he believes in come true. The main characters try to understand where the child got such abilities and find his biological mother. It turns out that several years ago she was possessed and remembers everything that happened to her during those 9 months of pregnancy. She was a virgin when the demon entered her. Soon she gave birth to a child and, regaining control of her body, expelled the demon, after which she gave her son up for adoption. Cass intends to kill the boy because he is the Antichrist with incredible power. With a single thought, he can destroy the entire heavenly army, so Cass cannot take that risk. When the Winchesters refuse to kill the child, the angel goes to Jesse himself, but nothing works, and the boy turns him into a statue. Meanwhile, the same demon who is in fact the boy's father finds his mother. He possesses her and goes to Jesse, intending to convince him to switch to the side of darkness. Sam manages to change the boy's mind by telling him the whole truth about the end of the world, and the difficult choice he has to make. The Winchesters suggest that he go to Bobby, hoping that this will save him, but the boy decides to take a different path and disappears. When an old man with the DNA of a young guy dies, the brothers start investigating. It turns out that several people have gone missing in the city, including an elderly man. The guys manage to find him, but he has suddenly become younger and is sure that this is somehow connected with a stranger he played poker with. The Winchesters find him and discover that they have encountered a powerful wizard who gambles with years of life. Bobby decides to try his luck and plays with him, hoping that it will help him walk again. However, Bobby loses and ages 25 years. Realizing that his friend doesn't have long to live, Dean agrees to play with the wizard for 50 years to get Bobby's time back. The plan works, and Bobby gets younger, but Dean loses and is now 80 years old. The brothers decide to steal the chips, thinking that this will allow them to regain their years, but the wizard Patrick catches them red-handed and upsets them with the truth that there is only one way to get their time back is to play. In the motel room, Patrick's beloved Leah is waiting for them and gives them a list of items needed to perform a ritual that will put everything back in its place. While Bobby and Dean go to get the necessary items, Sam agrees to play along to distract attention. He obtains Patrick's DNA, but the ritual does not work. Because the wizard foresaw this outcome and tricked Sam, Leah admits that she gave them the ritual herself. But Patrick does not share her kindness and demands to play to the end because Dean only has a few minutes left to live. In the end, he manages to outplay the wizard, and Patrick gives Dean back his years. He then agrees to play with his beloved, who is tired of burying her loved ones and has decided that it is time for her to rest. Another strange death is reported. According to an eyewitness, the attacker looked like the Hulk. Of course, the police don't even consider this version, but the Winchesters decide to clarify the details. Near the victim's house, Sam finds candy wrappers, which leads the main characters to believe that they are once again dealing with Loki. They hope that since he loves all the pleasures of life so much, he surely doesn't want the apocalypse to ruin everything, and this will help them win him over as an ally. Unexpectedly, the brothers are transported into a TV series where they meet Loki. The trickster agrees to talk to them only if they manage to survive the game he has prepared for them. Dean is wounded, and Sam operates on him, and a moment later the main characters are transported to what appears to be a TV show studio. Sam suggests playing along with Loki, as it is their only chance of survival. Cass appears, but he is unable to help them. So, finding themselves the main characters in a detective series, the Winchesters kill the trickster with a stake, but it soon becomes clear that they have not succeeded, because the series continues. The brothers begin to suspect that he is not Loki at all, but an angel, and they are right. It turns out that his name is Gabriel, and he arranged all this just to force the Winchesters to play their roles, saying yes to Michael and Lucifer, because everyone knew from the beginning that this is how it would end. The main characters refuse, and Dean says that they will fight fate. The main characters receive a message from Chuck and rush to him, but upon arrival, it turns out that it was not the prophet who called them, but his assistant, Becky. She wanted them to attend a gathering of supernatural fans in person, as a whole performance is planned there, involving the murder of the ghost of the orphanage caretaker, Letitia Gore. The official part of the program begins, during which it becomes clear that there really are ghosts here. The main characters team up with Chuck's most devoted fans and head to the cemetery to burn the caretaker's remains, thinking that the danger has passed. The brothers are about to leave, but realize that they are trapped, because someone is holding them in this building. It turns out that Letitia was not actually an evil spirit, but on the contrary, she was holding back the ghosts of the 3 boys who killed her son. Dean encourages the actress to play Letitia, and convince the ghosts to leave the humans alone. But this is not the only plan, but rather a diversionary tactic so that the couple of fans with whom they burned the caretaker's remains can reach the cemetery and destroy the boys' bones. At the last moment, the guys manage to carry out their plan. In doing so, they save both the Winchesters and everyone else. Before leaving, Sam learns about the cult from Becky. It turns out that the weapon is now in the possession of a Crossroads demon named Crowley. The main characters find Crowley, and the demon calmly hands them the revolver. It turns out that he is convinced that after destroying humans, Lucifer will start killing demons, so he decided to get ahead of the game. He gives the cult to the Winchesters and disappears. The brothers team up with Joe and Ellen, then head to the town where all the people have suddenly vanished. When they get there, Cass spots dozens of Reapers and tries to figure out why they're there, but ends up falling into Lucifer's trap. Meg appears and unleashes the Hellhounds. As a result, Joe is seriously injured. Trapped, Dean contacts Bobby to figure out what to do next. He is convinced that the Reapers are not here by accident. Moreover, according to the sacred scriptures, such a gathering can only mean one thing: the coming of the angel of death. It turns out that Lucifer is going to summon him, which is why he came here, to the site of a terrible massacre during the Civil War. Before approaching the devil, Dean and Sam try to come up with a way to get Joe out of there. However, she forbids them to do so and urges them to prioritize correctly. Joe suggests making a homemade bomb, which she activates to give them a head start and destroy the Hellhounds. Ellen tries to dissuade her daughter, but to no avail. In the end, the main characters assemble the bomb and say goodbye to Joe. Ellen decides to stay with her because someone has to open the doors and lure the hounds in. As soon as the Winchesters leave the building, there is an explosion. Reaching Lucifer, Sam distracts him while Dean shoots him in the head. But it soon becomes clear that the plan has failed, and the devil cannot be killed with this revolver. Lucifer does not try to attack the brothers and allows Cass to save them, while he summons the Angel of Death. At the request of their father's friend, former hunter Martin, the Winchesters arrive at a mental hospital where people are dying under rather strange circumstances. To become patients at the clinic, the Winchesters simply tell the truth about their lives, and the doctor immediately takes them under his care. Soon another patient dies, who had recently talked about a monster during a group psychotherapy session. Examining the body, Sam notices a wound on the head. He opens the victim's skull and discovers that someone has literally drunk his brain. Based on all the evidence and details, Martin concludes that they are dealing with a wraith. This creature can be killed with silver, but the problem is that the monster can change its appearance and look like a human. The only thing that can help in the search is a reflection in the mirror, so Dean tries to track it down. Soon he notices the monster and thinks it is the clinic doctor, but it turns out that he was wrong. While investigating, both brothers notice that something is wrong with them. Sam has become more aggressive, and Dean is talking to himself, thinking he is having a conversation with his personal psychiatrist. Over time, it becomes clear that the wraith is to blame. When it touches a person, the monster contributes to the development of fears and mental disorders, which, as it turns out, affect the taste of the brain. While Dean and Martin are trying to figure out how they caught this madness virus, a scream is heard from the ward. The main characters learn that the wraith was actually a nurse. In a fight, Dean breaks her spike and kills her. The Winchesters investigate the appearance of a poltergeist. The brothers arrive at a diner, where they are closely watched by the waiter Gary. Soon, Sam is shot with a tranquilizer dart on the street, after which he regains consciousness by the road and realizes that he is in someone else's body. Gary, in Sam's body, tells Dean about the ghost of a woman who was killed and buried in the basement of the house. This is probably why they came to this town. The main characters go downstairs to burn the remains, and Dean notices his brother's strange behavior, but doesn't think much of it at first. However, at the bar, he begins to suspect that something is wrong, so when he returns to the motel, he attacks the supposed Sam who was trying to kill him. Meanwhile, the real Sam learns that Gary has a book of spells, and soon meets his friends, who knock him out and drag him into the basement. It turns out that the teenagers summoned a demon and learned that there was a bounty on Dean's head. So they decided to pull off a body-swapping trick. Despite Sam's warnings, the guy summons the demon again and demands his reward, but the demon kills him. Then he realizes that he has a unique opportunity to curry favor with his boss because Lucifer's vessel is now not Sam, but a teenager who can say yes to the devil. Realizing what they have done, Gary and Dean expel the demon from their friend's body and bring Sam back. Anna appears to Dean in a dream and tells him about her imprisonment, which she ended up in because of Cass. The angel asks for a meeting, but it is not Dean who arrives at the specified address, but Cass. The fact is that he suspected that Anna's appearance there was not accidental, so he decided to check everything out, and he was right. It turns out that she was sent to kill Sam so that he would not become Lucifer's vessel. She asks Cass for help, but he refuses. Returning to the brothers, the angel tries to locate Anna so he can strike first, but it turns out that, having failed to kill Sam in the present, she decided to go back in time to prevent him from being born. Cass takes the Winchesters there too. Sam and Dean come to Mary's house and ask her to go to a safe place, but nothing works out because John has already fallen into Anna's trap. The main characters manage to save him and send the angel away for a while until they figure out what to do next. Dean confesses to Mary that they are her sons. At that moment, they realize that the only way to save the world is to ensure that they were never born. The main characters ask Mary to leave John, but it turns out that she is already pregnant. John, stunned by the news about the monsters, helps prepare for the battle with the angels. But all signs disappear when Anna arrives with reinforcements in the form of Uriel. A battle ensues in which Sam is seriously wounded. A moment later, Michael appears in John's body and kills Anna. He knows that Dean has no intention of saying yes to him, but only smirks at his belief in free will. because all the decisions he supposedly makes himself are actually part of his destiny. Dean also learns that his father could have been Michael's vessel too, though not a true one, because his lineage goes straight back to Cain. Michael erases the main character's parents' memories and returns the brothers to the present. On Valentine's Day, a young couple is overcome by a ravenous hunger, and they devour each other, and soon other couples experience similar strange incidents. Examining the bodies of the victims, Sam notices identical marks on their hearts, which Cass uses to identify the person responsible. It turns out that Cupid is responsible for bringing these people together, and the guys find him. It turns out that he, like others, brings couples together on the instructions of heaven, and the couple Mary and John was one of his most difficult jobs. And yet Cupid does not kill people. Soon, several more people die from overeating and excessive alcohol consumption. At this time, Sam notices a strange man with a briefcase, who turns out to be a demon. He takes the suitcase and brings it to the motel. Learning that there was a human soul inside, Cass realizes that they are facing true hunger. This horseman awakens the desires of the locals in order to feed on their souls. So Lucifer feeds him so that the horseman can then travel around the world. Slowly, Cass gets over his craving for red meat, and Sam starts to feel the urge to drink demon blood, so he asks the main characters to lock him up so he can't get out. The only one who does not suffer from hunger is Dean, but as it turns out later, the reason for this is the oppressive emptiness in his heart, as if he left a part of himself in hell. Dean and Cass go to the horseman to take his ring, thereby freeing people from his hunger. But things don't go according to plan when Cass throws himself at the food and Dean is caught by demons. Sam arrives in time and saves them with his gift, fueled by demon blood. Later, the main characters arrive at Bobby's, where Dean locks Sam in the bunker to get him through his withdrawal. According to rumors, a man has risen from the dead and taken revenge on the person who killed him. The Winchesters are questioning a witness when the local sheriff arrives and accuses them of lying. She asks them to drop the case, and when she finds out that they have disobeyed her, she takes them to the police station. Bobby rescues them from there. At first, he denies that anything strange is happening in the town, but soon confirms the brothers' fears. It turns out that a few days ago, the dead began to come back to life, including his wife Karen. The Winchesters are convinced that this will not end well and suggest killing her, but Bobby kicks the main characters out. Meanwhile, Sam goes to the house of the woman who came back first. His fears are confirmed when he finds her husband's body, and soon the zombie tries to attack him, but the hunter kills her first. Sam arrives at the sheriff's house, where her late son began to transform and killed his own father. Realizing that the town is in danger, the woman pulls herself together and helps shoot the zombies. At this time, Dean is on duty near Bobby's house and hears a gunshot. He had to kill his wife because the miracle did not happen, and she also began to transform. When they managed to kill all the zombies in the city, Bobby recounts Karen's last words. It turns out that when she had risen from the dead, there was a man in the cemetery who had asked her to deliver a message. It turns out that the zombies had come back to life only to kill him, because Bobby is one of the few reasons Sam says no to Lucifer. Hunters arrive at the motel and kill the Winchesters. Dean regains consciousness on the road and sees his brother as a teenager. This brings him back to his happy memory, and then Cass contacts him via the car radio. Dean realizes that he has died and gone to heaven. To find his brother, he needs to follow the road. Soon he finds Sam and contacts Cass again. The main characters learn that Zachariah is looking for them throughout heaven, and before they can return they need to find a certain Joshua. Only he talks to God and may be able to help them find him. Traveling through his memories, Dean begins to realize that all of Sam's happy moments are not connected with him and his family. This upsets him, and the brothers quarrel. But there is no time, because Zachariah finds them. The Winchesters try to hide in the woods, where an unknown person helps them. The friend turns out to be Ash. He tells the main characters that there is no single paradise here, and everyone ends up in their own mini-universe, the one they themselves consider to be paradise. Here, Dean meets Pamela. The medium knows everything that is happening on Earth and hints that perhaps he should not refuse Michael, because after death, people will end up here, and it's not so bad here. The Winchesters wander into their old house, where Zachariah is already waiting for them. The angel intends to torture Dean into saying yes to Michael, but then Joshua appears and transports the brothers to another location. He confirms Cass's words and declares that God is now on Earth, but he doesn't care what happens. He transported them to the plane, resurrected Cass, and believes he has done enough. Now he simply asks them to leave him alone. Joshua then adds that this is not the first time they have been to heaven, but this time everything will be different, because God wants them to remember it, so he will not erase their memories. After this meeting, Dean and Cass begin to lose faith, and only Sam continues to believe that they must fight. The brothers flee from the demons when suddenly the townspeople come to their aid. The main characters follow them to their refuge and learn about the local pastor's daughter, Leah. It turns out that she is a prophet, just like Chuck. The townspeople listen to her, not doubting the righteousness of her visions. But soon the situation changes when she hints at killing those who do not follow her rules. The main characters realize that something is wrong here, and they are right. Cass is convinced that she is not a prophet, but a whore of Babylon. Her goal is to condemn as many souls as possible to hell. The only way to kill her is to stab her in the heart with a stake, but only a righteous person can do it. The trio persuades Leah's father to kill her, but at the last moment, the man loses his nerve and misses his chance. The whore attacks Dean, and he stabs her with the stake, knowing that it will not work because he is not a righteous man, but a man who has lost his faith. And yet, the woman dies. Dean visits Lisa, whom we saw in Season 3, and tells her about the coming end of the world. He promises that no one will harm her or Ben, because he will make a deal. Sam finds his brother and brings him to Bobby, hoping that together they can change his mind and find another way to win the coming war. Meanwhile, Cass finds the resurrected Adam, the Winchester's brother. It turns out that Zachariah resurrected him so that he could become Michael's vessel, since Dean refuses to give his consent. The main characters try to convince Adam to give them time to find a solution, but he refuses to listen to them and acts on Zachariah's orders because the angel promised to help him see his mother again. It soon becomes clear that it was all a lie. He resurrected him only to use him as leverage against Dean, knowing how important family is to the Winchesters. Bobby and Cass believe that Dean should be locked up and not allowed to go into battle with Zachariah, because he will want to surrender, and then they themselves will bring Michael his vessel. But Sam decides to trust Dean and goes on the mission with his brother. To give the main characters a head start, Cass sends the other angels away and disappears with them. At the decisive moment, when Zachariah threatens Dean with the lives of both brothers, he decides to agree with Michael and asks him to be summoned. And when the angel is already very close, Dean seizes the opportunity and kills Zachariah. The Winchesters manage to escape before Michael appears, but Adam doesn't have time to leave the room and disappears with the angel. Sam asks his brother why he changed his mind at the last moment. It turns out that Dean didn't want to let him down, so he didn't give Michael the vessel. Due to a storm, the brothers have to stop at a roadside hotel, where everything seems strange to them. It soon becomes clear that their instincts were right, and something important is indeed happening here. It turns out that several pagan gods have gathered at the hotel, and they brought the brothers here to use them against the angels. Soon Gabriel arrives at the meeting, but the gods do not know that he is not Loki, but an angel. He tries to dissuade the creatures from attacking Lucifer, realizing the futility of these attempts, but nothing works. As a result, his former lover Kaylee kills Loki. The Winchesters decide to take advantage of the situation and lure the gods to their side to fight the devil. But the plan fails when Lucifer himself comes to the party and kills the gods. It turns out that Gabriel is not dead. Moreover, he has decided to stay to help the Winchesters and save Kaylee. Gabriel faces his brother alone and declares that humans are far better than angels, so he will fight for them. In the end, Gabriel is defeated, and Lucifer kills him. Soon, Dean plays a recording left for them by the Archangel. The main characters learn that Lucifer's cage has survived and that they can drive the devil back to hell with the help of the Four Horsemen's rings. A deadly virus is spreading across the globe. The Winchesters suspect that the third horseman is behind it all, but they don't know how to find him. At this moment, Crowley appears and declares that he can help them. After the cult failed, Lucifer learned that he was trying to kill him, so Crowley had to go all in. So he leads Dean to Brady, the plague's right-hand man, who is spreading the Croatoan virus under the guise of a flu vaccine. The main characters take the demon prisoner, hoping that he will betray his boss. Sam learns that as a student, he was already possessed and pretended to be his friend, but in reality was part of Azazel's man. Crowley manages to find a way to influence the demon. As a result, Brady reveals Plague's location, after which Sam kills him with his blade. Crowley comes to Bobby and says he can help in the search for the last horseman, but he needs guarantees that no one will touch him, so the Crossroads demon offers him a deal. Dean learns of his brother's plan to agree to Lucifer's terms and take control of his body in order to jump into the cage. Meanwhile, Cass contacts Dean and tells him that he has become human, completely losing his powers. While he makes his way to Bobby, the Winchesters go hunting for the plague. In the end, the main characters find the horseman, who decides to take revenge for his brothers. Cass appears in time and cuts off his finger with the ring, and before disappearing, the horseman declares that they are too late anyway. Bobby tells the main characters where the last horseman, Death, will be. When asked how he found out, Crowley tells them about the deal they made. This way, the Crossroads demon covered himself in case they decided to get rid of him too. The Winchesters learn about the Croatoan virus and decide to split up. While Sam and Bobby prevent the vaccine from being distributed, Crowley and Dean attack the last horseman. Before the fight begins, the demon makes adjustments to the contract and helps Bobby get back on his feet. Dean finds Death, but the horseman was already waiting for him. He voluntarily gives him the ring, taking only a promise that he will allow Sam to jump into the cage. Dean doesn't like Sam's plan, but he decides to give his brother the opportunity to do as he sees fit. The main characters find demons to pump him full of their blood and make the vessel strong enough to accept Lucifer. The brothers go to the devil, who turns out to know about the rings and Sam's faint hope of taking control of the body. Realizing he has no other choice, Sam says yes, and Lucifer enters him. Dean opens the portal, but nothing comes out because Sam is weaker than the devil. Cass and Bobby have lost faith and see no point in fighting anymore because they have lost the final battle. But Dean is not going to give up. He calls Chuck and finds out where the battle with Michael will take place. The angels meet on the field, and Lucifer tries to convince his brother that they don't have to fight. Dean, Cass, and Bobby arrive, having tracked him down. The main characters try to attack the angels, but Cass and Bobby end up dying, and Lucifer beats Dean half to death. Before the final blow, Sam sees childhood memories reflected in the light on the car. This gives him the strength to take control and open the gate. Michael asks him not to jump because the battle must take place, but Sam does not listen and falls into the abyss, taking Michael with him. The portal closes, and Dean mourns the loss of his brother and close friends. Suddenly, Cass returns. He thinks that God did it and restored his powers. Cass heals Dean and revives Bobby, then decides to return to heaven, where chaos surely reigns without Michael. Meanwhile, Chuck finishes writing another chapter of his book and then disappears. Dean decides to keep his promise to his brother and does not try to rescue him from captivity. He goes to Lisa and stays with her, unaware that Sam has managed to escape from his cage. This is the end of the 5th season. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and click the like button. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.